turned into growth. But what happens to a child that can't resolve it? Nobody's supporting them, nobody's giving them tools to handle it. That turns into trauma. Abraham Lincoln said, commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. So I've heard many people say, coming into recovery, I told my kids I'm going to be a better dad now, I'm going to change. I told my spouse, my parents, I'm going to change. They make a promise and they think that this program is just going to fix them. They're going to outsource it. And then that's going to fulfill the promise. No. That promise will only be fulfilled if they are all in to do what is necessary to change and get healthy. You can't just take on recovery and nothing else change. You're not going to make recovery. If recovery is a priority, that you want to get healthy, it's going to change every aspect of your life. What happens in a lot of complex trauma families is anger is seen as bad. You're always punished for anger. But when you think about anger, anger is actually designed to be something good. If something violates love, so somebody lies to me or somebody cheats on me, I should get angry. Because what they're doing is going to destroy the relationship if they don't fix it. So anger is actually a healthy thing that motivates me to act, to say, hey, this isn't right. This is wrong. The people who basically endlessly scroll on their phone, Instagram, Facebook, anything that's negative news, anything that's on social media that has a negative message. And even though it makes them feel worse, they can't stop scrolling. They just keep doing it, often for hours a day. This has become a really big issue in our society today. Children try to connect with their parents, but they can't. So they then go and they find food, sex, alcohol, video games, shopping, sports. Nobody's helping them form a healthy connection with those things. They just go, this is pleasurable. This gives the feelings of connection. Now they go overboard. It releases dopamine in the brain. It releases oxytocin in the brain, serotonin, all the good chemicals in the brain, but their needs aren't being met.
Welcome back to Memes and Markets. Thanks for bearing with us with the technical difficulties. Keith, how are you, man?
Today's still the best day of my life, Ben. How about yourself?
Today is fantastic. We have our awesome guest with us that we will intro again. So, Keith, I'll throw it back to you so you can intro Tim for everyone and we can get into it.
The first time Tim said that I didn't get anything wrong, so I'm going to go right through into the intro this time. Tim, for anyone who does not know, is the founder and president of React, Recovery Education for Addictions and Complex Trauma. He started off as a pastor before realizing some of his own significant personal trauma, and that led him into addiction counseling. He also has developed the 12 basic needs and 60 characteristics of complex trauma frameworks. And if you didn't know, Tim was actually on Theo Vaughn's podcast a couple of years ago talking about these exact topics. Tim, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well, and it's a pleasure to be on the show with you guys.
Fantastic. Plenty to talk about today. There's many directions we can go. You've got the fact that you've got social media right now being a hot topic, a hot thing that people are diving into. We were just talking about pre-show, some Twitter beef that we've got going on. And you started to talk about how we started to think about how that could be a trauma response that people are dealing with. I mean, how do you see this stuff showing up in people's digital interactions, and then where might some of these things be coming from?
I think one way to understand trauma, complex trauma, is that a child's basic needs weren't met. And so they begin to look to other things to try and meet those needs. So just for an example, to help you understand it. So if a child is neglected or abused, so they're living with this emotional pain that they can't resolve, they're sad all the time, they feel terrible about themselves, they don't like themselves. And they go to grandma's one day and grandma says, here's a cookie, that'll make you feel better. And they have a cookie and they do feel better. And they go, oh, that's the solution to my problems. So now what they're doing is trying to solve emotional pain with eating. And then they get to be 12, 13, and they find pornography and sex, and they go, oh, this makes me feel even better than a cookie. So now I've got a new solution. So the brains and the wires in the brain are getting crossed, that I meet an emotional need through this physical activity, through this physical food. And so what comes out of that is all the brain's conclusions about best way to meet needs, which really don't work. They seem to work, but they leave you empty afterwards. So what happens when people come to social media is now you have a way to meet all kinds of potential needs. So I need to feel like I am a somebody. So on social media, I can present this persona of me that is put together, is beautiful, that is smart, and I can get respect, and I can get followers, and I can get likes that I'd never get in real life from the people of my life. And I can get feelings of being connected, which, so they're trying to meet these deep needs, but it's through this persona that's actually imposter. It's not the genuine authentic them. But what they've learned in complex trauma is authenticity always leads to rejection when you're in the family relationships that you are, when really in a safe, healthy home, authenticity leads to connection. But in their world, authenticity leads to judgment and rejection. So the only way to get connection and acceptance is I got to be somebody else. I got to be fake. I got to be what other people want me to be. And social media provides a great way to do that. But then for some kids, their normal growing up was you're less than everybody. You're not good enough. You are inferior. So, who wants to live with that? So now I start looking for ways to feel better about myself, to feel superior to others. Well, social media provides a great way to do that because I can just troll and criticize everybody else and find fault with everybody else. And that makes me feel righteous. That makes me feel better than other people. And so that's what some people use it for. But then if you think of some kids in complex trauma, their normal is a life of drama and chaos. You never know on any given day what's going to go down, and it's probably going to be bad. So you come out into adult life and life is now kind of boring. Well, I need drama to feel alive. I need chaos to feel alive. Well, social media is a great place to keep track of chaos, to keep track of drama. That fuels this addiction in me for a shot of adrenaline, a shot of anger, and all of that. And then some kids coming out of trauma, it's they never experienced justice in their life. Life was never fair for them. So they have this deep need and longing for justice, and they take on every cause that's unjust. Social media provides a platform for that. Now I can scroll through every injustice and I can get all worked up and fired up about it. So again, to me, social media is people's attempts to try to meet some deep needs that weren't met in childhood. But often the way they're trying to meet it is not really doing the job. It's not true, healthy connection and kind of healthy interaction. It becomes feeding on hate, feeding on fear, feeding on lack of authenticity, pseudo connection, feeling self righteous, all of those things we talked about. And so it's feeding the wrong things that are actually leading to greater unhealthiness.
And for a lot of people that are in those categories, I would say that they oftentimes don't even realize that's taking place. What are like the warning signs where if you do these things, chances are there's something deeper going on?
Yeah. So if I can just add one other piece before I get to that, Ben. So one of the things to me that is key in understanding complex trauma is the present is too painful because I can't resolve these painful emotions, these unmet needs, this getting hurt, this being neglected, being rejected, not liking myself. It's just pain upon pain upon pain. So I want to be anywhere but in the present. It's too painful to be in the present. So much of your response to complex trauma is basically dissociating from the present. And so, what is one of the favorite ways in our culture to dissociate from being present in the present? And that is to be constantly busy and distracted. That way, I don't have to feel my emotions. I don't have to live with my own internal world. I don't have to think. I can just be helping others, having fun, go, 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 busy, busy, busy. And I get validated for that. I get lots of people liking me for that and praising me for that. And so I do not want to be quiet in my own skin where I have to listen to my emotions and thought. That's the worst place in the world because I don't like that place. I can't resolve it. So emotional media or social media becomes the greatest dissociative tool that we have right now because I can just be constantly occupied with your world, their world, and I don't have to live in my world. I don't have to be present in the present. So when this becomes a problem is when it starts to take the characteristics of addiction. And that, so the early warning signs would be that others are saying stuff to me and I'm just blowing them off. I don't got a problem. It's all under control, blah, blah, blah. But meanwhile, I'm spending 4, 6, 8 hours a day doing it. And I'm starting to neglect other responsibilities. So I'm starting to put off cleaning the house, taking care of this, answering this email, following up on this thing, because I'd rather be in my fantasy world than in the real world. So I'm going to let the real world slide and my responsibilities are going to slide. So I'm going to start procrastinating on things. Secondly, I start to find healthy interaction with the people in my life irritating because I'd rather be with fantasy interactions because they're giving me positive feedback. They're validating me. They like me. In my real interactions, they're confronting me. They're calling me on my stuff. It's negative. I don't like this real interaction stuff. So now I I don't want to connect in the real world, or I want to connect less and less. The only times I want to connect is when it's self-serving. So I want to connect with you so I get sex. That's basically it becomes a self-serving thing. Um, so you start to get that, and then you start to find that you're doing stuff even though you promise yourself you won't. So you say, I'm only going to go on social media for an hour today, but 2 hours later you're still on it. So you start breaking promises to yourself. So consequences are piling up. You're betraying your own beliefs and values. Those are the early warning signs. And then actual being present and connected become less attractive. And so the final thing that I would use in my own life is um, when I don't want to be present to my wife or to my kids. So I'm on social media, I'm present to that, and they come in and want to talk, and and I'm kind of half listening, not giving them my full attention. I'm not truly present to them. That's a warning sign that something has taken priority over what should really be my priority. And I guess if I can add one other thing, a lot of people to me today use social media because it's almost like it's fuel. It gives them energy. It fires them up. It gets them angry. It gets them motivated. It's their source of fuel, purpose, all of that. But it's fuel based on negative emotions. And so when you need it to get motivated, then that's really now in the realm of a drug. You need this drug to be able to operate. You need this drug to get up and do stuff. That's a warning sign as well.
The thing that comes to my mind around all of this is that we've got a couple of things happening as well, because there's people that are using these platforms purely in that sort of a way. And then you also have the fact that there's entire economies that are now built on top of these platforms, where people, honestly, if you're not on these platforms, you're kind of excluded from the
Yes.
economy in a lot of ways. What do you think the impact of that is, of people having to come to these platforms as a way to make money, or even just being reinforced to do the things that are more extreme on these platforms as a way to get more income as well?
Yeah, if I can put that into a big lens first, remember listening to a, a guru talking about when meditation first was discovered by the West. So it's been used in India and Asian countries for years as an important ingredient of their life. And it's more than just doing a mantra and all of that for 3 minutes and that little stuff. It becomes a way of life. It becomes a posture deep within your own person. But when the West realized, hey, we can market this. This is a great little 3 minute daily practice for people. It got corrupted. It lost its soul, its identity. It now became external behaviors that you do that will give you some benefit, but not necessarily get to the heart of what it's really all about. And so, what to me is I love my cell phone. Cell phones can be a wonderful tool, or you can corrupt them and they can become something detrimental. I love social media. I go on it and I love getting kind of little catch up on news pieces, etc., and people in my life, what's going on there, but it can be corrupted. So every good new tool can be corrupted. And there's always going to be people who want to monetize it, always going to be people who are going to see this as an opportunity to promote themselves or whatever. And so we're living in a time, and it's to me, the danger would be to go, well, I'm never going to go on social media. I'm not going to have a cell phone, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go back to the good old days. No, those weren't the good old days. That's kind of a fantasy. What I have to figure out is how do I use this stuff and not be corrupted by it? And how do I live within a system that's already adopted this as part of how we do business anymore, but yet keep my motives pure that, okay, I'm going to do business through social media and the internet, but I'm not going to make this all about a money grab. I'm not going to make this all about getting rich. I'm going to make this about truly helping people, truly passing on information. So that to me is I live within a system that's developed. I can't change that by myself, but I can keep myself pure within that system in the sense that my motivation in using it is still about loving people and helping people.
Love that. When I was looking through your content, two words stuck out to me that resonated because I think that they're very powerful and also very prevalent, and that is shame and trauma. Could you explain or define those two words and then explain how they're connected or not?
Sure, I'd love to. Um, okay, let me start with trauma. This is going to be quite a lengthy answer because there's a lot of pieces here. But trauma really, when it started, it was had a narrow definition. And the narrow definition we now would refer to as shock trauma, one time event trauma, big T trauma. So it's horrific events. And it really developed within kind of the veterans, the war environment where you saw people being killed, bombs going off, all of those horrific things that are outside of normal. And so what came out of that was people go, well, that never happened to me, so I don't have trauma. But what we began to understand is a small percentage of people have big T shock trauma, but that's a small part of understanding trauma, because there's other things that affect my nervous system and make it feel unsafe in the same way that big T shock trauma does. And so we began to understand little t trauma. And little t trauma is not something bad happening to me, it is something that should have happened to me that doesn't. So I should have been loved unconditionally, but I wasn't. I should have been comforted, but I wasn't. So it's almost like invisible trauma. It's not like anything bad happened, it's that nothing good happened. And when you begin to look at that, 90% of the people in the world have little t trauma. We have things in our childhood where our parents, for whatever reason, whether they're somewhat healthy or not, didn't attune to us, didn't connect with us, didn't meet some of our emotional needs. And we live with the pain of that. We live with the consequences of that. But then we took it further, and that is most trauma was looked at as a one time event. But what happens when a kid every day has a workaholic dad that's just never there? What happens if a kid every day has a mom with mental illness and deep depression that's just not able to connect with them? So they're living every day without key needs being met and not feeling that they're loved, that they're valued, that they matter, that they're safe. So that leads to the next thing, which is how do kids interpret what their parents are doing, neglecting, abusing, not being there for them, not connecting with them? They view it as it must be my fault. I'm the reason. So that leads to the shame belief. So this is needs a little explanation, because a lot of people, when they hear shame, they think of shame as an emotion. You should be ashamed of yourself. Oh, I feel shame, so I have shame. But shame primarily is a belief about myself, my identity, that I'm not good enough. The emotions come out of that whenever that belief is triggered. So shame is primarily a belief, core belief about who I am, and that it's I'm not good enough, that something's wrong with me, that if people saw the authentic me, they would reject me. They would not want to meet my needs. They would not want to connect with me. Therefore, I must adapt and be something else if I'm going to get my needs met, if I'm going to get connection. So, the most devastating common piece that comes out of trauma, complex trauma, is shame. It changes the child's belief about themselves. It causes them to begin to believe nobody wants to really love me, know me just the way I am, because I am not good enough just the way I am, or I'm too much just the way I am. So I have to adapt and be something different in order to have relationships, to be successful, to make it in life. So now I'm operating in all of life based on a belief system that's based on lies. It's based on what unhealthy, unsafe people were projecting to me by neglecting or abusing me. But I don't know it's a lie. I think it's the truth. I think it's the reality that everybody goes through. And so I build my whole approach to relationships and life on this belief system about myself. So to me, shame becomes this core issue that comes out of complex trauma that basically everybody in our culture has some degree of, and it affects them negatively.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely resonated with a lot of what you're saying. And like one thing that I definitely experienced growing up was that the positive things were conditional, right? So if every criteria was met perfectly and that goalpost moved as well, then you'd get those things, right? So then you start to
Exactly.
carry that forward. Is that something that you see as common?
Very much. So what I see for so many people is um, that their physical needs were met fairly well. They had food on the table, they had a house and a bed and all of that. It was their emotional needs. So whether I would be validated today, accepted today, mom would want to spend time with me today, was dependent on whether I conformed to what they wanted and their rules, their stuff. So what a child is conditioned early on is my ticket into a relationship is I have to give up me and take on you. I have to put your needs ahead of my needs. I have to be attuned to your moods, your emotions, your beliefs, and become what you want in order to earn your love. And that is, I would say, one of the most common elements of complex trauma for people. But it's subtle because to an observer from the outside, looks like you grew up in a pretty good home. And some kids are really good at conforming and becoming what the parents want, and we call those hero children. Um, and they get validated for that, and everybody says, You're a perfect child. You must have wonderful parents." No, the parents are neglecting them, and the child is trying to earn getting their needs met. But our culture is seeing that as a good family, not as an adaptation to some unhealthy conditions. And that's why complex trauma is so hard for people to see or detect, is because it was their normal and society validated it. So how can that be a bad thing? Because everybody seemed to like what I was doing and it seemed to help. So, what I want people to realize is those adaptations help that child survive that family and get their needs somewhat met. But if you take those same adaptations to adult life and you want to get married, let's say, those adaptations set you up to fail in those adult relationships because now you wear masks all the time, you're not authentic, you're not totally vulnerable, you keep some secrets, tell a few lies. Well, you just laid the foundation to destroy your relationship. um, and so complex trauma lets you survive, but it doesn't let you flourish in healthy relationships.
And how does one go about having these conversations constructively with a parent? Because these are things that I've tried to do as well, and it was really difficult to navigate, largely because I think it's just a gap of information. Because even when you bring these things up, like I was nodding along with you, because in conversations that I've had, they would speak to the externality view of what happened in terms of invalidating what I'm saying in this moment about something
Right.
internal, right? So
Exactly.
how do you even begin to bridge that divide? Because I can't even get mad at anyone I was having this conversation with. Like, they didn't have any of the tools or even the
Yeah.
words or vocabulary to have these conversations.
Yeah, and that's the challenge. And I would say up front is you may not be able to have this conversation. Um, because they may not be able to go there. So if you look at kind of they grew up in this box of how to think about life, how to think about family, how to think about relationships. And that's the only way they've ever looked at life. That was passed to them generationally for years. And now you're coming along saying, I don't like this box. I don't like these dynamics. And they can't get their head around it. And they may never be able to get their head around it. But there's a fear in it. And that needs to be seen. And that for many of them, the way they were taught that parenting children should work is the parent's the boss, the children just conform and do what they're told and learn to obey and adopt this world wholeheartedly. Then you're going to have a good family, then you're going to have good kids, everybody's going to be happy if the kid just conforms. And so if the kid doesn't conform, you just put pressure on them to conform. That's how everybody's going to be happy. Well, this, you now are not conforming. You're not going along, and they can't see any other solution to a happy family than to go back to the only way they know, and that's put pressure on you to conform. And so if you go against that, then here's where the fears start coming. Number one, what's other people going to think? That we've got a terrible family, you're exposing us as being sick and unhealthy, and everybody's going to look down on, we can't go there. That's a huge fear. Secondly, they have an all or nothing thinking, and it's I'm either a perfect parent that you adore, or you're saying I'm a terrible parent. They're not able to see this middle ground that, hey, you're a wonderful parent, but you do have flaws, just like we all do. It's all or nothing in their mind. So if you criticize, then you're saying I'm terrible. No, I'm not. But that's the way they perceive it as happening. And so what I encourage people to do, step one, instead of going and saying, "Can we have this talk? And I want to point out how your behavior hurt me, etc." That's too confrontive. That's too, I'm judging you, and they get on the defensive. What I encourage people to do is just to say, Mom and Dad, I've been watching some videos and learning about stuff that's really been helping me understand. And I want you to know I appreciate my family and you as people. But if you'd be interested in watching these, I'd love to be able to talk about this with you as something that we could talk about. And sometimes when they hear it through somebody else, through kind of a bigger lens than just my kid complaining, then they can hear it and maybe start to understand stuff that would enable them to enter conversation.
Love that.
That's a super powerful way of thinking about that. Because yeah, that is gonna be a very natural response. It's like, uh, oh, like I must have been so terrible. And even if they are receptive, that's still how they might feel, you know. Um, so I wanted to also follow up on some of that because like this is something that can also completely ruin a relationship that you have with someone now. Like there's already things that have happened in the past that aren't great and that prevents you from moving forward with what you have. But you might bring this up and then that just leads to all out fallout, right? Where now you just
Yep.
aren't even talking at all.
Yep.
How do you think through someone's like justification of even having these kinds of conversations? Because some people might say, well, what's the point? It's already in the past anyways.
Right. Yeah. So, couple of things that I think are really important is that children, no matter how old they get, still long for connection with their parents. Um, but the old way of the parents that you have that in their growing up was, we recognize that every relationship experiences ruptures, that we hurt each other, whether knowingly or unknowingly. The right approach is to repair that. And so there's a discussion, there's a what did I do? It's owning each other's part, it's willing to change in order to repair the damage so it doesn't happen again. But in many of the families of complex trauma, there's rupture, and their definition of repair is get over it. It's in the past. Just be happy. Quit being such a suck. Quit being such a victim. And so what they're basically saying is, I don't have to own my part. You just have to get accepted and get on with it and come back and accept that to me, with me. And so basically their definition of repair is very faulty. It's very narcissistic. It's basically saying, agree with me, go along with me, do what I want, and your needs don't matter. What you want to do doesn't matter. You just need to be the one that conforms. I don't have to conform at all. After all, I'm the parent. And so, what to me is important to understand complex trauma always happens where there's narcissistic tendencies, that the people in the positions of power misuse that to get what they want and to get others to conform to what they want. And that's where needs get neglected. That's where people get hurt. That's where people experience conditional love, is because now this person in power is not using their power to care for me and meet my needs and treat me as an equal. They're using it to treat me as subservient to me. And so, parents, if you're ever going to heal and restore the relationship with parents, if you've got a pure narcissist parent, it's probably not going to happen, because they're not going to own their thing. They're just going to keep saying, you got to conform, you got to change, you got to be the one that gives in. And they're going to play you and work you and try to wear you down to get you to give in to their wishes. And narcissism through and through. But many parents have narcissistic things that just came out of their upbringing, that just came out of that's the way we do things. And they're willing to confront that. They're willing to change. They just have never understood it before. And so the key to me is if you have a parent that you begin talking about this with, and they go, okay, I get where you're coming from. I see how what I did affected you. I want our relationship to be better today, and they're willing to change. Fantastic. You can have a wonderful relationship. But if your parent's narcissist, you can have that conversation and it's going to be World War III, and it's going to blow it up because their definition of unity in the family is the kid's got to conform to me. And if you're not willing to do that, then basically you get pushed to the point where do I go no contact with my parents? Do I walk away from that because it's just too toxic for me? I got to protect myself from their constant wearing me down. And that is a tough, tough decision that some have to make, not many, but some have to go there. So the bottom line is what you're trying to do as an adult is repair all the damage to the relationship that's been done over the years. And it's not to say you're terrible parents, it's that hurt was done and I want to repair it so that we can have a healthy relationship today. If they're willing to do that, it's going to be a wonderful journey for you. But if they're not, then you got some hard decisions.
Yeah, I think that's the distinction, right? It's the opportunity that's given through the adversity that's already taken place that you can't change. And I think I actually made a video about this on like my burner channel not that long ago, but like why I think it's important to forgive your parents, because like until you do that, like it's really tough to mend the relationship, even if you do, because you're always picturing that version in your mind that hurt you, right? So like
Yes.
that's the strongest force, and so it makes it very difficult to come back. I think also we tend to think that our parents grew up in the resource or information rich environment that we now live in, right? Like
Exactly.
which is just so untrue, right? Like when my parents were raising me, could they go watch a podcast and listen to Tim for hours? Like, no, that wasn't an
Exactly.
option, right? And
Yeah.
so, and then another person had a great point in here earlier that like working is a real thing too. A lot of parents are working
Yeah.
so much where they have very little time. And I also saw the point that parents aren't equal to the kids, and I get that, but I think having compassion for everyone involved is one of the best approaches to take. But one thing I wanted to ask you on that front was the word narcissism, because ever since TikTok's become a thing, that's become a massive buzzword where everybody's ex is a narcissist, right? So where is the line for like what makes someone a narcissist, and is that something that like you either are born into or do you become that? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, and there's lots of debate on that, Ben, and I'll give you kind of my theory, but where think the research is leading us and our understanding, because at the beginning, people began to understand there was these certain kind of characteristics that people had that made them very unhealthy, and so it got branded as narcissistic personality disorder. But I think what the research is beginning to show is they weren't born that way. That came out of the need to survive extreme trauma. And so, what happens when you're in extreme danger, when you are put down and made to feel like a zero, is I got to survive and I got to feel good about myself, begin to drive you. And so, how do I survive? Well, my needs better matter more than your needs. And I need to feel superior to you in order to begin to feel good about myself. And so all of that begins to fuel the environment where a person can develop into how you would define a narcissist, that I see myself as better than everybody. I have to shut down all kinds of empathy and my conscience, etc. So if you look at a child in extreme trauma where they're being abused, criticized, made fun of, teased, neglected, abandoned, all of those things. Just the amount of pain and the shame that develops, that I must be an absolute zero inside the person. Their only way of dealing with all that pain is, Well, let's shut down caring about anybody, because the more you care about people, the more it hurts when you lose them. Let's shut down your conscience, because if you have a conscience, then you're going to get this little voice that causes you pain inside as an alarm system if you tell a lie, if you steal, if you do stuff. But you need to lie, you need to steal to survive. So let's shut that down. Let's shut down kind of being attuned to other people, because then you pick up their emotions. So you just start shutting down all kinds of systems. But then you go, I got to shut down crying. I got to shut down caring. I got to shut down emotions, because they make me weak. They make me vulnerable. Others can use that against me. So now you're shutting down. You're becoming less human. You're becoming a brain in a body. You're not feeling, you're not having emotions outside of anger. And so, how do I get my needs met? Well, now I got to manipulate people. Now I got to control people. Now I got to have power. All of that becomes your way of trying to get the attention and your needs met. And then, how do I get to feel good about myself? Well, I need others to like me, because I really deep down don't like myself. So now I got to help others, or I got to have lots of money, or I got to do things that get me lots of validation and feedback that's positive. So I need all these mirrors to keep reflecting to me, you're a wonderful person, you help me so much. That's the only way I can have good feelings about myself. So that is what basically is happening in narcissism, is it's shame and trauma trying to solve themselves in extreme situations. And so to me it's become terribly abused, and people get branded with it all the time, and often unfairly. And it really gets, no, this is an extreme trauma survival response for a little child that had no other options. And so I need a certain compassion for that. The problem is that when people get to adult life and they can doing all the things they did to get validation, to have these mirrors, to get power and control, is, do I want to go back to healthy, trusting people, being vulnerable to people, and doing all? No way. I am going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's getting me the results. But to me, the key thing with narcissism, true narcissism, is it's incapable of connection and it's incapable of love. It doesn't know how to love people. It only knows how to use people. And it doesn't know how to connect. It just knows how to pseudo connect. So I can groom you and love bomb you and act like I connect, but I am not going to let you anywhere close to my internal world, because that is way too scary, because you might discover the real me. So I don't know if that is answering your question, Ben, but
Yeah, I think largely. I think the other thing that I would, I guess, in the relationship context with like a partner that's also been thrown around so much, is that the same sort of like? Do you look at that the same way in how someone conducts themselves with like parent-child relationship and person like a romantic relationship? Is that a very similar thing in your eyes?
yeah, like to me, you can get, so a couple pieces here. If if you had a mom that was basically a mouse when dad was around, but when dad wasn't around, mom was the narcissist. You better do what mom wanted. So mom learned how to play the mouse to dad, a narcissist, but and so she could turn it on and off depending on the relationship. And so a lot of people, they're not narcissistic in every relationship, but they are in some relationships. And it's when they perceive a power imbalance that I can exploit that. I can take advantage of that. And so part that leads to the second thing. Part of what we have culturally that we're still kind of living with in certain times, we think maybe the after effects, but it's that patriarchal system that men are the strong ones, women need to be the nurturers and the caregivers at home, men need to have the jobs and kind of the hunter gatherers, and you start set up these roles, but it makes men strong, women weak, men the leaders, men take responsibility, women conform, women fall into their role and let men lead. And that has led to almost narcissism being put into a role as okay. Because now men get what they want. Men make the rules. Men, you better take care of my needs and my emotions, but I don't have to take care of yours. So it sets up this double standard, but it really comes out of kind of that patriarchal system, which, and sadly, in many cases, has become quite misogynistic in a lot of things as well. Um, so there's a lot of contributing factors again that play into it, but you can get a woman that becomes a narcissistic abuser of a man. You can get a woman in a gay relationship that's a narcissist abuser. So it doesn't, it's not just men that become these narcissistic people. It really is people that come out of trauma that had to go to extreme survival.
Super fascinating concept. I saw a couple people in the chat talking about the idea of the selective sort of narcissism and how that can show up. Um, Super fascinating thought there for sure. One of the things that I wanted to also ask about is how some of these things show up in terms of people's relationship with money and finance and things of that nature. Obviously, there is the way in which these things show up when you're a kid and in your household, how the relationship that your parents have with money and so on may affect you. I'd be curious to hear about that. But there's also the aspect of later in life, how does the trauma that you've had influence the way that you're moving and the decisions that you're making with money as well? If either of those speak to
So
you.
let me come at it from two important perspectives that I think are key. So number one, if you look at shame, what the child basically ends up concluding is if people see the authentic me, they will see zero value. So I don't have any inherent value, but I want to feel that I have value. I want others to respect me, which means they have to see that I have value. So, how do I gain value? Well, I can do it with my body, my looks. I can do it with my money. I can do it with my brains, my accomplishments, sports, whatever. All of those things give me external value, which gain me respect. And so, one of the things that some people do is, wow, when I have money, people want to be my friend. People look up to me. People respect me. So, money becomes an external source of value. But what I say to people is, when you get all your value from the external world, you no longer are a human being, you are a human doing. So your value now depends on performance, on doing, on externals. But all of those could be taken away in a heartbeat. Then what would you be? You would, in your mind, still be a zero because you haven't built internal sense of value. And that's what shame took away, is that you did have value. You do have value. You still do. You just don't see it or acknowledge it. And so that's where some people use money. But then the second concept is, so if you look at a child who feels safe and connected, they're in their ventral vagal nervous system state. And that's the ideal state. That's where you feel joy. That's where you can be creative. That's where you can explore. That's where you can show all your emotions and be fully human. That is the wonderful place to be. But what happens when a child doesn't feel safe? So they're neglected or abused. Their needs aren't being met. Mom's angry all the time. Dad's busy all the time. Um, you go to a survival nervous state. So you have two main states, and that is your sympathetic vagal state, which is fight or flight. I got to get out of here, or I got to beat up that person. They're the bad guy. But most kids can't fight or flight. They're too little. They still need to be at home. So they go to your dorsal vagal state, which is your freeze state, where I'm going to just shut down, go into an internal world, a little fantasy world, disconnect, dissociate, stay busy all the time so I don't have to feel. And that becomes their thing. But then there's the next one. most kids that go to freeze, and most do with complex trauma, they still need mom and dad to like them and meet their needs. So they have to go to a fourth F, which is fawning. And that is, now I have to be what you want me to be. I have to become attuned to your needs, your moods, your thinking, and become your little clone so that you will like me and meet my needs. So, one of the things that people do is basically go into all relationships saying, I have to earn love. I have to buy into a relationship to get people to like me. I have to fawn. And one of the ways that they learn to do that is money. I can buy friendship. I can buy love. I can get people to look up to me and respect me and think I'm a wonderful person by buying them meals, giving them gifts, all of those different things. So money becomes very much a fawning approach for many people because it makes them look good. It makes them so that people like them and want to then be their friends and do things for them. So again, not sure if that answers all of your question, Keith, but that's a start.
No, I think that's an awesome answer to the question. I was thinking to myself, I couldn't help but bring some of these things that you've been talking about back to myself. And like I think about how when I was younger, I think a lot of my desire to be financially successful and or successful in whatever way, right, that people would think, oh, this guy's successful, it came from a major place of lacking that internal
Yeah.
value, right? And now I think so my question comes back to, because we've also had someone on the podcast recently where we were thinking to ourselves, and the audience was asking, like, could some of what this person's thoughts be just a major trauma response? And I'll point it back to myself, but I hope someone can zoom out and see this. My goals that I had from then didn't necessarily actually change, but my relationship with them has.
Right.
Should the goals have changed as well? Or how do you
Yeah.
think about that?
Yeah. So we've been talking about complex trauma within an individual, but let me just expand it to what happens when complex trauma takes over a culture. And so if an individual no longer sees their value from their internal, but has to externalize and gain external value, a shame based culture, a traumatized culture, begins to gain their sense of success. How do you succeed? It's not by a healthy internal world, it's by money, position, things, possessions, power, externals. And so sadly, most of our parents grew up with, I want my kid to be successful. What does that mean? They got to be a doctor, a lawyer. They got to have a good job. They got to make lots of money. They got to own their own house. We define success nothing about your internal world. It was all about your external world. So we created an external house of cards to measure success, to measure value as a culture, which then got translated even more into pressure on kids that you have to fit into this role, this box, this definition of success. And so, what understanding complex trauma has begun to do is to go, boy, we've really missed defining success properly. We defined it by the external world instead of the internal world. And so, what can begin to happen for people is, I don't care about a six-figure income anymore. I want to help people. I want a fulfilling life that makes a difference to people. I just want to pay my bills and be able to retire. So your whole motivation and goals begins to shift because your sense of value has moved from external to internal, and that changes your motivation. Now, you might have in the past say, I want a big job where I can help people, and that was your goal. And so now you can go, I still want to help people. And if I have a big job, fantastic. I don't really, that's not the issue anymore. The issue is helping people for the right reasons, that it's coming from I'm okay. I don't need you to tell me I'm okay for me to be okay. I already know I'm okay. Now I just want to help you. And so if you think of it as a child that they are loved unconditionally, so their love cup is full and overflowing. Parents connect with them every day. They are able to talk intimately about their world. They want to love their parents. They want to give back. That it's an overflow of the cup that's being filled daily. But what happens to a kid that doesn't have a love cup that's full? It's empty. They want it full, but now I got to earn it. So now I'm going to do the exact same things. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to do things for you, but it's not from an overflowing love cup. It's now from an empty cup trying to earn getting you to love me and fill my cup. So same actions, totally different motivation. And I think that's what you're partly describing, Keith, is that a person can look like they have the same goals, but something shifted internally that now the motivation and relationship to that goal is coming from a very different place.
Super powerful. Yeah. Because I think, well, for me, for sure, it was very easy to like mask, oh, the goals. And we saw this with Sam Bankman Fried was this big character where there was this movement called effective altruism or something like that, where it's like all these people are trying to like do good for the world and make the world a better place, whatever. But in reality, it came that he was doing some things that weren't very legal. They were taking people's money, commingling it with their business, and so on. And it just reminds me back to like, okay, where is the real motivation coming from in achieving the things that you're doing? Because then that's going to change the way that you go about actually achieving the goal as well. Uh, it's very easy to hide behind, oh, I'm doing this for other people. I'm doing this to make the world better, whatever. But then deep down, there's something, messed up about why you're actually trying to do that.
Yeah, to touch that quickly before we move on to something else, is that what I had written down there is that like a lot of men, especially, they tie their confidence, and I'm saying that in quotes, to something external from them, and also oftentimes something that they're guaranteed to lose. Right? Like if you are attaching it to you being like the sports guy, like you're gonna have to retire. Right. And so many of these things, if your whole identity is I'm the work guy, like eventually you're gonna retire, right? So that's something that I've noticed a lot, even in my own life. Like I went through basically death and rebirth when I lost football because that was my whole identity. And I think most men are like this. I'm very like logically driven, where I'm like, okay, I'm good at these things, so I'm allowed to have this. I'm good enough now to have this. So when that goes away, it's like, okay, I guess I'm gonna lose that too. So you think you're losing everything all at once. I just wanted to touch on, like, I related to that when you said that, Keith.
And so two things with that. So in Canada, we have the cougar and the puma amongst women. And it's what happens when you start to lose your looks and all of the things that cause men to be attracted to you, and you lose some of that. Well, if you don't have internal value and you don't think they're attracted to you for who you really are, then you need a face job, a boob job, all kinds of different things, and you become the cougar and the puma. And then the second thing is in trying to understand midlife crisis. When I look at it through the lens of complex trauma, midlife crisis begins to make sense because you get to your 40s and all of a sudden all the things you built to give you value, to give you acceptance in the culture and validation, you're starting to lose. And all of a sudden it's like, now what's my purpose? What gives me value? And you go through a crisis period. And it's not to accumulate more external things. It's to begin to realize if I don't develop an internal sense of value, I'm in big trouble. And that's kind of the rebirth that you're talking about, Ben.
I've got some other pieces on the finance discussion. I mean, I guess maybe let's take it to what's happening in the world right now. Um, in the United States, at the very minimum, there's this massive idolization that we've seen of people who are extremely wealthy. You look at Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and so on. Do you think that How would you describe, rather, what you're seeing there and how people's relationship with these figures of society is? And do you think that that's something that's healthy?
Um, to me, there's a massive, bigger picture to this that also has an historical element. Um, so if I look at kind of colonialism in Canada, and the U.S. is partly a colonial kind of mindset, but it was these wealthy people from Britain that basically said we're superior to everybody. So there's a shame narcissism piece that we're going to come over and take over this country and steal the resources of this country and help all these pagan people cultures to become better cultures. So we'll put indigenous children in residential schools, will take away their language, won't let them talk their language, will steal their land. And so it was wealthy white men basically being bullies and narcissists, demanding everything serve them and suit them. And that's how America developed as well. Slavery, taking over indigenous lands, building even greater wealth on oppressing people, oppressing and using people. And so those people then had this power within the government. They could get what they want. They could kind of get away with stuff. There was a different set of laws and justice that was applied to them. They weren't treated with the same rules and accountability as everybody else. So they were kind of above the law. And so it set up a system that they were feared and respected, but they continued to oppress people. And I think this is just my projection. I think the US and Canada are starting to hit a crisis point where that's no longer going to be accepted. There's an uprising that's forming that goes, if you can't treat people, I don't mind that you have more money, but if you're not using that money to benefit others, you're just using it to indulge yourself and oppress others to get that money, that's no longer okay. And we're no longer going to let you just be above the law. That's changing. But that mindset has gone on for hundreds of years. It's been longstanding. And often they brought a religious element into that we're bringing you the awareness of the true God, the true religion. We're going to give you a better culture, a better life. And so this is manifest destiny was the terminology that God is behind our cause to bring about this better religion. And so now you got a spiritual abuse element on top of everything else that was used to indoctrinate and really brainwash people. And I just think it's done so much damage and abuse that we still live with the kind of the effects of that, but I do think it's beginning to change.
Really appreciate you going there with that question. I do have one small follow-up on that
Go ahead.
because is do you think that that behavior was a trauma response?
Very much. Very much. So again, like you can trace this back to the earliest of times, but what happens when you get an oppressed child who's, let's say dad beats him up every night, dad's a drunk, there's abuse, they get hardened, become a bully. They are now going to kick the cat, kick the dog, beat up kids at school. They're going to get their way. They're going to form their own gang. They're going to create their own little world where they rule and they are never going to get hurt again. And so, whenever you get somebody in positions of power, um, often you look back to what would cause a person to be so driven, to lack such empathy, to think the way they think, and that it's okay to treat other people the way they treat. to me, it goes back to a trauma response. And they got validated, and they get all kinds of adoration and adulation and respect because of their position and power, and people fawn and all of that to please them, and you get yes men around you, and you get away with it and gain even more power. But you're still operating out of, I got to be in power so I don't get hurt again. I got to be in power so I get my needs met. Screw everybody else. It's all about what I want. And so to me, it boils down to generations ago that somebody was badly beaten and looked at getting into a position of authority as the answer, that they could then be over other people, and that would be their safety.
So do you think at a like super large macro scale, that's what we're witnessing across the board?
I think in most cases, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that, because even when people are saying different things and you see the people that are the figureheads for these things, like they say different words, but like they're saying the same energetically things, and it's coming from a place that sounds similar to what you're referring to.
Yeah. And I don't want to get off on a bunny trail here that could be problematic, but if I go back in my thinking from the very beginning of time, is you look at families, and the basic structure of families is that you have these powerful people responsible for these very weak people, children. And so there's this power dynamic difference right from the get-go. And so the parents treat them as equals, but there's a power difference that I'm going to meet your needs, but I'm going to be your leader for now. But the goal of parenting is within kind of a 20-year period, I'm going to go from meeting all your needs where you can meet all your own needs. I'm going to go from being the boss to being your friend. And we're going to navigate that transfer of power and equality, hopefully, well. That's really kind of the thing. But the family setup is this internal difference of power is part of it, because you have these infants that are totally dependent on this other person and connecting with them. And so to me, that abuse of power is so easy when you're in that position, because now, well, I can neglect my kids. They're not going to complain too much. I can just tell them to get over it. They're not going to make me accountable. And you can create then cultures. And so we have kind of shame-based cultures that basically you treat elders with respect. You do what they want. You obey them. Um, doesn't matter if they've earned respect, etc. So take that farther. If you look at kind of adult humans, it's not just little children that we are responsible for, but when we get in positions of power, we're now responsible in a political sense to others that are homeless, that are struggling, that have mental health issues, etc. We now have the environment. That's kind of the most vulnerable, weakest thing that we better take care of, or else we're going to have problems. And so what you find is people in authority, if they don't take care of the weakest things, but oppress those things for their own advantage, those oppressed things will eventually rise up and revolt. And you're going to get climate change. You're going to get um, all kinds of different uprises, because you can only oppress something so long before it eventually rises up. And so you get the slave revolution, you get all of the Civil War and the stuff that happened, because that's the way. If you abuse power, there's going to be consequences down the road.
Fantastic, Ben. We've got the one word game. Should we move into that, Ben?
Sure, let's do it.
Cool. So, Tim, we've got a game that we play at the end of every session. Essentially, I'm going to give you a word or a phrase, and you tell us the first word that comes to your mind. Are you down to play that game?
Sure.
Fantastic. So, I'll go ahead and start on the list. The first word that we have here is money.
First thing that comes to my mind is a very helpful tool that can be easily abused.
The next one that I have is trauma.
Much more common, prolific than people are aware of.
TikTok.
A wonderful tool, especially for the younger generation, that can do great harm or great good.
YouTube.
Ditto. Only for more older people.
The next one I have here is therapy.
There's good therapy and bad therapy. It's misunderstood. But if you find good therapy, it can be life-changing. So we all need good therapy because all of us have some issues.
The next one is college.
College is often a place for people to find themselves, a place to learn and develop skills and tools. To me, the problem with complex trauma today is when kids get to the age to go to college, they still don't have a clue who they are, because that's part of complex trauma. And the danger of college is Western society thinks that you learn mainly through academic, and you learn a lot through academic, but life is designed to be learned through experience with good mentors. And many colleges don't provide that.
Parenting.
Most people think of parenting as a complex set of tools that they need to do certain actions with their children. And what I want parents to understand is parenting, number one, is you becoming healthy. It's not what you do, it's who you are that impacts your kids the most.
Love it. We've had a few in the comments. Do you want to field those, Keith?
Well, I mean, I saw one grooming.
So grooming is the process of an abuser finding a vulnerable person that they can then manipulate to trusting them so that they can then abuse them. So they get past all their natural defenses and things that warn them of lack of safety, and they get them to trust them so that they can eventually abuse them.
And what about narcissist? I don't think we've asked that yet.
So narcissist is that response to that deep shame and trauma where my needs matter more than you. I'm better than you. I shut down conscience. I shut down empathy. I must always get my way, and you must always reflect positive to me.
Love it. I think that's all of them, right, Keith?
Yes, it is.
Amazing.
So, thanks.
Well, thank you, Tim. It was awesome hanging out with you, and the chat definitely loved everything you had to say. So go show Tim some love. He's on YouTube, very active there. Go over to his Instagram. His links are down below. They should be the first links in the description box down below. So go over to Tim's channel, click that subscribe button, watch a few videos. If you enjoyed this, you'll definitely love his content. So definitely go show him some love.
Yeah, thanks a ton for doing this, Tim. This was a really fun conversation, and looking forward to continuing to follow your work, and would love to eventually have you back on whenever you'd be down to come back.
Yeah, I love that, and I love kind of the platform you guys have built, and would be very happy to come back. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. You have a wonderful week.
Okay. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. How are we,
Fantastic.
chat? Freedom. Sorry, Brandon, we didn't throw that in there, but next time when he comes back.
One of the things in the chat, Brian was saying some stuff. Let me try to find the OG comment. Brian said, hey, changing your value system and where you find that validation won't change the current societal structure. And I said, sir, please expand on that. What do you mean there? And then Brian followed up and he said, oh man. Said Keith, structural conditions don't move because someone fixes their internal validation. Whether or not you make peace with how you go about achieving success, society still rewards it. So opting out just leaves you at a disadvantage in a game you're still forced to play.
I like that.
I think it's an interesting thought.
Would love to hear it. You don't like it?
Well, I just don't know that the other alternative here is to just opt out. Right? I think that's a false dichotomy there.
So you're saying it exists on a spectrum, you're saying?
Totally. Because no, but I do think about that, Brian, right? Because I mean, if you get to a healthier place, for me, I'm like, well, what am I even doing this for? What you could get to. But I think it also just comes back down to like, okay, but how do I do what I care about, what is healthy in the game that we're playing? And as an example too, does having a healthy relationship with what you're doing actually leave you at a disadvantage? Not necessarily, because once again, if you start making decisions like Sam Bankman-Fried, then like he's out of the game now, right? He disqualified himself. He DQ'd because of potentially not trying to achieve the things he was trying to achieve through the right lens, without the right sort of, with a healthy rather relationship with the goals that he might have had. So that's kind of how I look at it. It's not just a matter of playing the game or opting out of the game based upon my relationship with the goal. It's just more like, okay, but why? Why am I really doing this? And then how does that actually serve someone else as well? But I would love to hear any other thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that everyone gets to make that own choice for whatever that means to them. Because even like so many of these things are perception based, right? So it's like even a lot of the talking points that we have in this conversation, like so much of it is predicated on how you see the world, right? For how you'll interpret the topic of discussion too. So yeah, I think that I agree with a lot you're saying. I think of course it does fall on a spectrum, and even the concept of does it put you at a disadvantage? I think that also depends on your lens of how you look at things too, and like the time horizon of the game in which you're playing, like all those different things too. So yeah, it's a very complex thing. I don't think there's one right answer.
Totally. Yeah, there's a book, The Infinite Game,
by
Simon Sinek, I believe.
Yeah, I think
Simon
you're right.
Sinek.
He does a lot of podcasts.
Because yeah, it's like if you're optimizing for the win today, then yeah, maybe you're at some disadvantage by not being like John D. Rockefeller, and like ruthless, put your competition out by any means. But the environment changes to where like that type of a mentality, you can't do that today. It's against the law. Laws were created to prevent that. He got away with it, but then it becomes what are the other drawbacks to that? He had to walk around with he did not, but there were rumors that he needed to walk around with a bodyguard, with a weapon, and things of that nature.
Then you throw in a whole other wrench of things when you talk about like laws, right? Especially with where we're at now, where like seemingly from the outside, it seems like if you have enough power, you can like even bend or create laws too. So it's like that creates another layer of complexity there for like, okay, so anything that is illegal, immoral, right? Like, so it just creates a lot of shit. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, that's why I love that example of him, because it's like, once again, he would never say that he walked around with a pistol, but it was always said that like John D. Rockefeller's walking around with a pistol because like no one likes this guy.
Yeah, and we talked about this behind the scenes, Keith, where I feel like most of them have to do that because they're doing messed up shit.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean? I think it's an energy thing largely, where even when people don't, it's like you could say that, okay, well, yeah, there's people who hate you and they spread hate, but I don't know how far hate can go when there's nothing there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a fascinating thought, right? Like, because really what it comes down to is education. And at some point, you're better off in that position of the leader or people that people are looking at to educate people. And if you can't educate them as to why what you're doing is good for them because it's not possible, then you continue to walk around with the weapon.
Yeah.
Because you got the platform, so you could easily tell people, "Hey, like what I'm doing is good for society." And it's not always going to work if you've got an enemy, for instance, in the press, right? Which he would argue that he did.
Yeah.
John D. Rockefeller in particular, he would say, they are trying to demonize me, but I'm not that bad of a person. So
Yeah, I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that we navigate through a zero-sum game, like almost every day, right? Where if it was more of a truly free market, would that make it so that there's less of that? We'll see. Because Tim even gave the example, right? And he said it better than I've tried to say it before, where I feel like most of the problems in society, I use the water analogy, right? Where like it comes from a big lake and then it comes down streams and then goes up to people's houses, and those are all like the individual problems. And people are calling in plumbers trying to solve the lake issue at their tap. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So it feels like if you run through those thought experiments, it's kind of hard not to be positive because I think that how we're experiencing exponential craziness change, I think that we could also experience those kinds of improvements in the right sort of system. So we'll see.
Thomas.
What up, Thomas? We haven't seen you in the last few.
Sorry to hear that.
What happened? I'm so sorry to hear, Thomas.
Yeah, man.
I guess that's why you haven't been around. It makes sense. You were missed, and I hope that the family's doing okay.
Yeah, man. So take your time. We always appreciate you coming through. And yeah, sorry to hear that, man.
Brian says, men carrying weapons goes back thousands of years. Nothing wrong with being strapped. But I think that's, first of all, objectively funny. But secondly, that kind of builds on the point, right? Back then, I think that everyone was still operating in a zero-sum game because you couldn't communicate intentions oftentimes well, right? And look through the stories of history. It was either like, and I'm not saying it could have gone any other way. I'm just saying it did go this way, where it was like divide, conquer, take over, right? So how many of those stories were peaceful and happy? Not many, right? So then it becomes the whole Odyssey story, right? That I ruined for Keith a few episodes ago.
Yeah, where they're the ones. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yes. Because I have a lot of these conversations with some of my friends because I grew up in the South and like in the United States. And it's big gun culture. And we have one friend who's pretty like against that stuff. And he's like, man, if you're walking around with that stuff or keeping it on you like that, like you're almost inviting that kind of energy. Like, because also the question then becomes like, okay, so now you've got it. Now you're put in a position to where you have to use it, or you might need to use it. Like, are you ready to do that too? I was in an Uber yesterday in Rio de Janeiro, and I was talking to this Uber, and he was telling me how last week he had someone come up. I asked him, I was like, how's the crime here? Like, people say it's really bad. He said, last week we had some guys come up on a motorbike and armed robbery, gun to the window, took my ring and my wife's ring. And we just kept talking and talking. And I was like, what are the problems? Like, how is this happening? Da, da, da. And I was like, well, he was like, the crime that's happening isn't coming with enough punishment. And so if you don't have punishment, then people are going to do this. Like they do these armed robberies, they go to jail for 3 months, and they're going to come back and do it again. And then I started thinking about that. I was like, all right, guys, I've said some stuff on the pod that I might have to think about a little bit more, which was that this idea like in East Asia and stuff like that, like it's all because they're just like karma people. And I didn't say that. I said that obviously there's also part of it is the laws, but like it is night and day difference to where like you might lose your life for, an armed robbery in some of those other countries.
Yeah. We experience that here within Canada, right? Where there's rampant crime that's continuing to rise because the punishments aren't that severe, right? And so if you are desperate, and you look at the cost benefit analysis, you have to make that not make sense. Do you know what I'm
Facts.
saying? And here it is just like so apparently a good call. As long as you don't care about hurting people, like you're gonna come out ahead doing that. And so it's like until you fix that, how do you expect it to stop?
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about it that hard, but that's very true. It's like if the cost benefit analysis is, well, I could take from someone and get 6 months of freedom,
Yeah,
then yeah, it's worth risking it for 3 months of prison.
totally. Yeah, man. It's that's a big thing here where like the punishments for a lot of these crimes are like, again, I'm reading headlines. I'm not at the courthouse. I don't actually know what's going on, but seemingly it seems like they're far under equipped to administer proper punishment. Because the other thing that like no one really thinks about this from a societal level, but like as things get more and more messed up, like you can't put everyone in prison. It is a financial strain on the existing economy that is collapsing, at least here in Canada, like to put more people in prison because then they're not paying taxes, they can't be making money, and you need to pay people to administer the prison, right? So it's like that's another issue that these systems are so complex, right? So like it's just there's so many layers to them that require exploration. In America, they're more private sectored, right? Like businesses
Mhm.
are run. Yeah, so I don't believe it is like that here, but I could totally be wrong.
Yeah, there's massive issues with that too. But I'm just thinking to myself, man, like the walking prison, like the open prison. Unfortunately, that's where my mind always kinds of goes. Kinds
The
it goes
What
with
do you
this.
mean?
What is it called? Like the 5 minute city or 1 minute city,
15-minute
whatever it's
cities.
called. 15-minute
Yeah.
city.
Bro, they're real, man. Like I talked about it before, like these new buildings are going up and they're putting in like under 100 parking spots for a building of like thousands of units. It's crazy.
'Cause technology does change the power dynamics. Like it does. So I'm just like, oof, like, is that where we're heading?
I think that is where they want us to go. But it certainly seems like they've overplayed their hand because so many more people that would probably never have paid attention given the last 6 years of events, they're now paying attention.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it ends up where they want it to go, truthfully. But I think you're right in terms of because it's also so crazy where I was watching a bunch of podcasts last night where what was the terminology that they used? It was something that was like karmic responsibility or something like that, where if they tell you their plans and you don't stop it, it's equally your fault, basically.
Mm,
And so he's like, because I think it was Jang who was saying this. He's like, the people in the occult, they all are very like superstitial, right? So they do this deliberately to say because the analogy that was given, I don't know if it was him, but he's like, if we're all in heaven at the end of it, and God's like, why are you all here? The people in the back are like, I told you guys, like you guys didn't do anything about it. You know what I
mm,
mean?
mm. Wild, man. Um, the other thing that I was gonna wrap on the Rio story was that like Brian, I think was saying, everybody should be nothing wrong with holding the strap. And so I brought that up too, because I was like, either you would have to have more strict laws or allow anyone to have, right, to be able to protect themselves. Because that was what he said to me. He was like, man, if I had a piece, that guy would have been bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dang, bro, like, is that what we want too? You know what I mean? Like, because in this situation, at least nobody walked away with that being the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, you've lost your ring, but someone didn't have to pass. And in the States, obviously, that's 100% how people think. It's like, well, it's either you or me. You know what I mean? um,
Totally.
but so, and I was like, okay, so what about that being the other levers that more people could have the weapon? And he's like, well, if we did that, then it'd just be an all-out war zone because
Mm.
it'd be a robber at every corner, and people would just be getting bopped. I'm like, that's
So
crazy.
it is. It is. It's crazy to think about. But John has a point here that's interesting. I feel like we're generally safer in a crowd. Subdivisions breed paranoia, and being forced to drive everywhere means you can legally be stopped and searched any day individually, and no one knows why. So that's interesting. I, having lived in like I'm assuming like subdivision. Do you mean like suburbia? Is that what you're referring to? Because having lived extended periods of time in both suburbia or a big city. I guess it's not a fair lens of analysis because the world's been more messed up in the time when I've lived in a big city. But it does certainly seem like people close down in a big city more out of like sheer overwhelm of stimulus than when I was in suburbia in terms of talking to people. Again, I've not lived there recently, so it's not fair, but definitely interesting thought.
Super interesting thoughts here. And then Brian said, he said, bring back the Wild West. And I think that worked better because think about how much space they had. You know, like if somebody wanted to go duel over there, like, all right, y'all go duel over there. I mean, like, but today, bro, like, nah, dog.
There's casualties. Yeah. But it's fascinating stuff. But yeah. Do you have anything else, or do you want to jump into the second half here?
Let's go ahead and jump into that second half. I've got some news. All right. Had a lot of stuff going on over the weekend. Yeah, this was funny. I brought this up to Tim before we went live. Some of the stuff. So US and Canada apparently have had their trade talks collapse. So the U.S. Trade Representative says Canada declined to finalize a trade deal agreed earlier last week. And this involves Trump and the Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney. The U.S. had offered a major tariff cut on steel, aluminum, autos, and lumber. And this breakdown is now triggering a 50% U.S. tariffs on about $20 billion of Canadian goods. So looks like the U.S. Trade Representative came out and made a little bit of a statement about what happened. And then we also had Mark Carney a few days ago make a statement on Canada and U.S. trade negotiations. And then I don't know if this is in here or okay, it is totally. And then you had the White House go ahead and post a renaming idea here from the Trump administration. Trump posted, the United States is giving serious consideration to changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America, and that we don't expect to doing much business with Ontario any longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Ben?
Even if they changed the name, it wouldn't mean anything to y'all. You don't even know to begin with. Nothing would change. But this is a very complex thing that everyone thinks is very simple, right? It's simple because whatever your lens of analysis is in terms of your previous bias, you're going to see it just like that, right? So all the people on the right side are like, what the hell's Carney doing? He thinks we can take on the big guys. The left are like, yeah, good Carney. Carney's the smartest guy I've ever seen, and he's taken on Trump. He's the only guy in the world who will take on Trump. Like, it's theatrics across the board, too. Like, because at the end of the day, this was a tough PR move for like America because of all the ammunition that Carney had of this against Trumpness that got him into power in the first place. So the fact that he also apparently made it about a revision that also apparently was from Howard Lutnick that came at the last minute and said some sort of changes to the mandate for French language being included on goods being imported to Quebec, I believe it is, or Canada, period, because we have two official languages, right? We have English and French. And so one of the mandates is that everything that you see that you buy, it has to have French and English, is my understanding. And so that was a last minute thing where apparently that was thrown in. But a lot of this, like, there's very little confirmation. It's a lot of he said in this situation. So that's a very powerful chip in the, like, to play for Carney. Because when he got to come back, because Quebec is very much like a swing state for us, where they hold a lot of power. So if you can get them on your good side, like that helps tremendously with Carney's objectives. So yeah, it's craziness. But the thing is that, again, regardless of your stance on it, like, it's the everyday person's life who gets impacted by this. It's not Carney, it's not Trump, it's us. Totally, but it's the divide and conquer thing, right? Because we even start fighting each other over our view on this.
And having very little insight as to what's actually going on. As the outsiders, like, we're fighting, but like we don't know what's actually happening. We're just seeing the headlines.
Totally. And when the game is, when we're all aware that, like, this is largely theater, they're each like, okay, as much as everyone says, like, Carney is nothing like Trump, they're actually like pretty damn similar in terms of their ability to play their hand. You good? And that'll rage a lot of people, but I just mean in terms of like they know who they are. Like they know the character they're playing and they know how their constituents will react. Right? So like if Trump and the states gives Carney these like home runs to swing at and like play for the optics, he's going to do it. Right? And this has made Trump, and think about how many people hate Trump right now. This has made Carney like hella famous, dude, in terms of globally.
Totally. Oh, I've been having so many conversations about some of this too, because I've been telling you guys over and over again, everywhere I go, if I say I'm United States and
Trump.
like, it's like, oh my gosh, ooh, Trump.
Like think of the political leverage that comes from being the guy who took him on optically, right?
100%.
So in terms of that move, like well played by Carney in terms of the optics and managing that, but like because Carney is not a dumb human being. Like he's very, very smart, whether you like him or hate him. He's objectively intelligent. And unfortunately, like that's kind of his get out of jail free card, is that they're like, he's the smartest guy. It's like the smartest guy going the fastest towards broken things is not necessarily good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I was talking to somebody about how like when US people are traveling, they'll put like Canadian stickers and stuff on their bags or like whatever to like keep it from being obvious that they're Americans. Oh, because when they hear you speaking English, they're gonna expect, oh, with that accent, you're American. So if you got the Canadian flags on you, you're all good to go.
You're good to go. Yeah, we've been doing that's been a thing for a very long time where Americans have done that, it's funny because we're so similar in so many ways, but then also like very different in some ways too. Like this also really plays into, I would say, the subtle stereotypical differences in us. Like because you guys, like, although we are both capitalistic nations, I wouldn't say that success is as optically rewarded as it is for you guys. So like you guys are a lot more cutthroat than Canada is.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that comes innovation, but it also comes the whole perception of like you can't make a good deal with a bad guy kind of deal too, right? So again, we have such little of the information, but it's a fascinating development, unfortunately.
Lake America coming soon.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen at all. But they're like, and maybe this is Trump's plan all along. I don't know, but they're doing our politicians' job because you can't underestimate the hate in this country for Trump.
Mm.
So if you give any politician ammunition to dunk on that, like you're giving them a free pass to success.
Yeah, that was the first one that I was like, why would you do that? When he was talking about making Canada the 51st state, I'm like, bro, why would you do that? Like that's gonna piss everyone off.
Is that maybe that's the whole karmic thing we're talking about here, where that's actually the plan, and so he's saying it ahead of time, so you can't say he didn't say it.
Maybe, man.
But yeah, wild. And it's so sad that we're at the point where, and the other incentive structure here is the media environment, right? Because now everyone's become a bot. If the creator who covers the right-wing stuff covers it really any other way than getting people fired up, they'll get significantly less traction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, this is so broken across the board. That's why anybody who's going to watch any sort of political media, you need like multiple shows on each side. Otherwise, you didn't watch anything.
That's super real.
Otherwise, you're just jerking yourself off intellectually because you're not getting anything of substance. You are feeding into their incentive structure of getting more eyeballs and growing their media company.
100%, man. That's where we're at. So it's good to so people are starting to think through, how do we create a place where you can go to have a more fair, balanced analysis on either side of things, right? So I think that's a super fair thing that people should continue to be working on.
It's one of the most important things, getting that incentive structure correct, or at least more objective. I don't know if there's many more important things that you can be doing in a first world, right? Like we're still, even though things are getting messed up, we're still at a high point of privilege in terms of our ability to access things for the most part. You know what I'm saying?
Dope, man. The next piece Unless you see something real quick you want to touch on, because I think that
No,
might be
I
worth.
see through that up. I think they're saying the same sort of thing.
Word. Next piece I've got. Porsche signing a $1.5 billion 5-year AI deal with India's TCS to deploy AI company-wide. So TCS bought Porsche's MHP consulting unit for 320 million euros as a part of this pact. Apparently, prediction markets are linking it to just 11% odds that the AI bubble bursts by the end of 2026. And big automaker bets on AI keep flowing amid the ongoing bubble debates. Very interesting. I wonder if they're going to be using it in like their, yeah, that's interesting. Because I'm thinking about the manufacturing process, but then also obviously the corporate process, and is it one of those or the other that they're focusing in on for that piece?
Yeah, and it's nothing makes sense anymore, Keith.
Anything else on the Porsche piece?
No, I've never been a big car guy.
I love cars. Huge car guy here. I will say that Porsche is one of the interesting ones. Like, I'll give them that. The reason Porsche actually sits in such a unique category, just huge tangent, is because they actually perform. They charge a premium, but they actually perform. So you're not just buying Lamborghini, right? Because it's a Lamborghini. You're actually buying, arguably, the best deal for the performance that you're getting. And that's kind of how I feel like Porsche sits. It's like the German thing. It's like the logical play, you know? It's like, so I'm always interested in the people who drive the Porsche, because a lot of the times they're actually a practical person who wants a nice, fast car, you know?
Totally. Yeah, my uncle, who was super successful in business, like he had a Porsche. So like that was my only real exposure to like a nice car as a kid, like really nice car, you know what I mean? Asipa said, Ben's not a car guy, not a yacht guy. So what guy are you? When I have resources, I'll probably buy a house and a cottage, and that's pretty much it. Like there's nothing really that I don't really like that much shit. Like I like the game of collectibles and stuff like that, but I'm not like, oh, the sentimental value means so much to me. Like I don't know. I'm more so like the sport.
Heard on that. Because then if that's what it is, it's like you don't swing at every ball, right? It's just like if something's cool, like, oh, I'm on that.
Yeah. And this was something that was I spotted in me at a really young age, that was just something that I was pulled towards, and it was never really the individual item. It was understanding that people will care about this item. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't really have that much of like a personal relationship to any item in my life. I don't really care. Like I throw shit out all the time. But I like being able to know that someone else will really find value in this. That's something I find a lot of fun in.
That's super cool. I tried my best. Last week I didn't.
What?
Porsche.
Oh, Porsche. Okay. Porsche. I would have said Porsche. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I do love the conversation, man. I do. Because it says so much about a person. I guess also because in the US, you have to have a car, like basically. And so it's like, okay, like what kind of car are you getting? It's like, it's saying a lot in a lot of ways.
But I just also found that most of the people that cared about that, like it's not everyone, but a lot of people who cared about like the logo, incredibly low vibration people.
Totally.
Right. So like I drive not a shit car. I drive like the cheapest car I could get from the lot, because I don't see any like benefit from people thinking I have a nice car, because I don't care about cars. Like if I really loved cars and it was for me, I would totally buy something baller if I could afford it. But for me, it's like I don't actually give a shit about this whatsoever. So like it'd be so dumb for me to spend a lot of money on this. And also I wouldn't want to attract guys, because like I don't, you know what I'm saying? It just wouldn't make sense.
Totally.
Like they come over, start talking about my car. I'm like, I don't fucking know. You know what I mean?
100%. But yeah, and even if that's the answer, right? Of like, how does someone think about cars? You know, I think that's cool too.
Totally. Oh yeah, 100%. I have anybody who likes what they like, I think that's awesome. But I think a lot like what you brought up in this conversation, it's the relationship to it. Like, do you actually like it, or is this liking it an attempt to get admiration from somebody else? That's my line in the sand. Tux, very interesting thought experiment here. I don't know how you meant this, but like, what do you think is the highest ROI degenerate purchases for flexing? Do you mean that from like an investment standpoint, or like you get the most flex for the dollar?
The most flex, but the highest ROI on that flex. That's an
Yeah,
interesting question.
that's a fascinating thought experiment. I would love to involve the chat in this one.
It depends on where you live, because the car is almost always the answer, but not if you live in a big city like New York City, then you're stupid.
You can't really drive it. I see some guys who drive their cars around me with like, and they make it super loud when they go by. I'm always just like, what a D-bag, man. Like, but some people like that shit. Some people really find that attractive. I don't know. But yeah, cars up there. Pure flex. Okay. So just strictly for like, I think Keith's got to be right. It's got to be the car, because what's something that the most amount of people know? But then that also creates another layer of debate. Like, are you trying for sheer, I can flex on everyone, or the flex on like certain people?
No, flex on everyone.
Okay, it's got to be car then, right?
It's got to be a car, because you could also, well, but see, but then that would determine what kind of car,
Yes.
because you could get a Koenigsegg and nobody would have a clue what that is.
What the hell is a Koenigsegg?
But that's a multi-million-dollar car, right? So, but if you get the Lamborghini and the Aventador in particular, like, to me, in fact, there's this particular item, Brian. It's the Lamborghini Aventador in my eyes, because it's V12, so it's extremely loud, right? So there's no way you're not going to hear it, even if you're not trying to be heard.
Yes.
It has a crazy look.
Car guys love that
Undeniably, it looks crazy. And that's just like, when you think about the person who buys that car, it's like, that's what it is, you know?
Totally.
It's fascinating. It's fast too, so you can play the game of like, it's just fast, bro. But
that's awesome. This is fun.
that might be-
You got more?
No.
Well, I love hearing you talk about cars, because you care about it, right? So like, that's something that is fun to hear, because I like experiencing the passion that you have for it. It's also super fascinating because I feel nothing. You know what I mean? It's so cool. I think humans are so awesome.
Totally,
Brian's point you're saying, y'all don't have to agree with me, but Tesla for daily driving / commute, Porsche for the weekends. Brian, you got it like that, eh?
That's honestly, that is a very reasonable take, Brian.
Yeah,
I genuinely think it is.
I think that's great. And I want to look more into the EMF stuff for like how bad the battery is, because apparently that's not good for your health being an electric car. So I want to look more into that before I would buy one. But if I were to ever buy a nicer car, it would probably be a Tesla for the tech. I'm like, I like technology that improves my life or allows me to do more creation, like someone had said earlier. Like, I love doing that. And so if the car could facilitate more of that, then that would be something that would interest me more.
That's fair. If you could talk to it and have your chat GPT going,
Yeah.
right? Like while you're in the car.
Totally. Grokbot going, and then
Yeah, your Grokbot.
and self-driving. You got to get the extra package where it's self-drive and autonomous stuff, right? That'd be cool.
There's gonna be repackaging clips
In
on the in the car.
on my drive to work.
Cool. All right, guys. I mean, you guys are having fun with this too, so that's awesome.
Mhm.
I appreciate this.
No, these are the best ones when the chat starts going. It's the best.
But yeah, I remember once Tesla came out, it totally changed the game, because now you lost a lot of the ability to say that this is a logical purchase. It really changed the game, because you can't say that this is, oh, I'm buying this for the performance, because the thing will dust you. And most cars, bro, an electric car with instant torque, it dusts
Yeah,
you, bro.
it goes. Mhm.
So that conversation completely changes in that moment.
That's a really good point. Yeah, no, that's a fascinating thing, because it's instant. I've been in a car where one of my old clients, shout out Albin, awesome dude. He had a Tesla, and he was the first time that I'd been in one. He's like, "Do you want to see how fast it is?" I'm like, "Yes, Albin, I would love to. That's awesome." And then, boom, that thing went, and then he let me drive it for a bit too. That was a crazy experience, like no lag.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
crazy. So, yeah, it's like all the Corvette guys had to rethink their life. Any Porsche guy also had to rethink his life, because now it's like, okay, you've got top of the line engineering, but you have no, either it's the engine sound and the feeling of driving the car that you actually enjoy, which is the Porsche person most of the time, Or is it just because, this is a nice car, it's fast, it's status, so anyways, but yeah.
Well, I think we take pride in our involvement in something happening, right? And I feel like it's hard to say you're part of this. It does feel like you're kind of in an experience when you're in a Tesla versus you're having an experience in a car.
Mhm.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like a Tesla's like a yeah. So you got a point. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say because, like, so for the Porsche driver, for instance, like it's normal for them, like a real Porsche, a real car person has a manual Porsche, right? So that's like the difference in between, like, like why? Because it's like, oh, like you said, like I'm involved and I'm creating this experience when I'm changing the gears in the car. It's a totally different
Yeah,
thing
it's a lot,
compared to
man.
got a Lambo.
I had 3 of my first shitbox cars were manual, and Lauren said most of the car guys are mechanics. That's definitely a big part of it. What up,
Yes, sir.
Abs? How are you, man?
What
I saw you get hit.
up?
I saw you on Twitter get hit by a golf ball the other day.
Oh no.
Abs is freaking awesome, man. There was a video from him golfing. I'm trying to find it. Here it is. It is, yeah. 1 year ago today, I was hit by a golf ball while standing on the tee box.
Oh my
Wicked.
goodness.
Hope you're good.
Oh, I see now.
We gotta get Abs back on the show, man. Talk some XRP because apparently I hate XRP.
Yeah, no, facts, Abs. Pull up. You're frozen for me, but I don't think you're frozen for anybody else.
Am I frozen, guys?
No, I don't think so.
Like the cat. But everyone go follow Abs on Twitter too. He's a source that I use all the time for the latest breaking crypto stuff. So definitely go over to Twitter and follow him, and then watch his show. His live show is awesome too. But the crypto stuff is one of the few places where you can actually, like trust where it's coming from on this news shit because the biggest thing psychologically is his face is attached to it too, right? So he's going to think more about what he is saying in these news stories than some random faceless aggregator that's just sheer looking for views. So like, and
Totally.
also Abs is a great human being. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like, if you don't know Abs, that's another reason why you would want to follow for that stuff too.
Love that. That's real, man. Yeah, there's a lot of people, and especially even in the XRP space where they won't, and it's totally
crypto.
different vibe.
Yeah, it's crypto.
It is
Period.
crypto.
It's just hyperbole bullshit. Also, because a lot of these pages, like they are full blown businesses, right? So at the end of the day, they're only thinking about their business, and if their business isn't like long term relationship based, like a Good Evening Crypto would be, then like we talked about before, they're oftentimes probably making the right decision for them because they're just trying to maximize short term profits. And I'm sure they're playing the game, and they're probably not wrong in this. That like, oh, people won't even really remember that we were full of shit. Because there's so much, right? I'm hopeful that go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was saying hopeful the platforms, or at least new platforms, come through that like makes that not possible. But yeah.
Well, because it made me think about Dom Lucre, or however you pronounce his name on Twitter, when he was like, I've never made these claims. And then there was like a community note that just had like 100 different times of when he had made this claim in the past.
That's so good. I love the internet for that. Does Abs talk that fast? I guess I talk very fast too, so I just assume everyone talks like that. But he's got so much good information to share. He wants to get it out, you know?
Yes, sir.
What do you got next for me, Keith?
Let me keep it pushing. A robot beat Usain Bolt's 100-meter record. So this is apparently the Honors Lightning humanoid robot, and it ran the 100-meter in 9.32 seconds, faster than Usain Bolt's 9.58-second record. The sprint happened in a test ahead of the 2026 World Humanoid Robot Games in Beijing.
Fucking awesome. Obviously so scary, but watching them run was hilarious. Don't count them out. And when they hit the wall, it's so good. Okay, you're muted, buddy. Sorry, I called you buddy. Fuck.
So a lot of people were commenting on this and saying like, okay, it's a robot. like a car also drives faster than a human can run.
Yeah.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
Was that in the conversation, which is fair, I think, to some extent.
Yeah, it's like a kind of a meaningless comparison for sure, but it's fun to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I hate thinking about it, but it's like if you're on foot and you're trying to
Outrun
run
one of
away
them.
from that thing, like it's gonna get you.
Yeah. You got to do some lateral stuff.
Yeah, like the crocodile run.
We could try to get Peter back on, but I don't know. I don't know if he would, because our audience was not the nicest to him. So I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure he'd be fine, I'm sure he's got some of that he's getting from all angles, but I guess not if every day he's got a big show that's getting a lot of love. But let's see here. I've got the next piece being Ripple CEO speaking at the CFTC. So Brad Garlinghouse addressed the CFTC Innovation Advisory Committee on August 20th. He discussed Ripple's 4-year SEC lawsuit and its impact on U.S. hiring and innovation. Garlinghouse urged clearer rules and better coordination between the CFTC and the SEC, and the remarks highlight ongoing pushes for crypto regulatory clarity in the United States. Let's hear a little bit of this.
Makes. I think it's profound, as you've heard from several people here, how significant that shift has been. You asked for some examples. I think it was Brian that referenced that you didn't want to invest $5 million and have $4 million go to legal bills. Ripple spent $150 million in outside legal counsel during our 4-year battle with the SEC. Most companies would not have, and frankly, other companies were bullied into submission prior to the lawsuit with Ripple. Suffice it to say, from my point of view, and I think everyone here would probably agree, the status quo is not good enough for consumers or for innovation. I think it's absolutely imperative we have these clear rules of the road, both to protect users, but also hold companies accountable and give responsible businesses the certainty to build here in America. You asked for examples. 80% of Ripple's hiring for those 4 years was non-US. Even today, our second largest office is London because of that legacy that has shifted under the leadership of this president and this administration, the CFTC and SEC. I think we all can agree that the technologies represented at the tables here can make moving money faster, more efficient, and more accessible. But we have to have clarity to unlock that potential responsibly. So thank you for your leadership, and thank you everyone for being here today to help achieve that.
Keith.
I think it's so fascinating, like who Brad is, like what he represents in crypto. Like in a lot of ways, you have Brian Armstrong, right? Like he's the suit, honestly. And Brad Garlinghouse is also a suit, but he's a suit in a very different kind of way. Uh-oh. You still got me?
Yeah.
He's like, you wouldn't look and listen to him, especially the way he talks about Ripple and so on, and think, oh, that guy went to Yale and like is a part of the big club and he's not a bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like he does a much better job of being the bro than Brian Armstrong really does. Brian Armstrong's the nerd in my eyes.
Yeah, I think, Brian Armstrong to me seems like the entrepreneur's entrepreneur, right?
Yes.
Like all the people who went that route, like he's their guy.
And Brad's like the president. He's like, like I could speak to the people who have no idea that I'm a Yale grad. It's fascinating. Because I do think he represents, like, I think XRP represents like a more common kind of person that's looking at how is this technology changing society.
Sarah likes Brad. Have you watched a lot of him speak?
Brad Garlinghouse?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, over the years, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, totally. No, it's interesting. I'm sure he'll become a lot more vocal, like on larger stages that go beyond just crypto people very soon. I'm sure he did go to Harvard Business School.
Word. Yeah. Yahoo exec, huge player in that .com era.
Yeah, he's obviously a dog.
And also, Chris Larson, for instance, like Chris Larson's not the CEO of the company for a very good reason, because he's much more like Brian Armstrong and not relatable in any way. The dude is so unrelatable.
So he went to Kansas. So he's are they Jayhawks?
Kansas. Yeah, you're right.
Jayhawks. I didn't know that. Wikipedia told me. But yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting dude. Would love to get him on the show at some point to talk more about what they're doing with everything. But did you have anything else on that comment that he made in particular, that response?
No, honestly.
The Clarity Act is interesting because I was listening to one of Charles's streams recently, and he seems to have become more positive on clarity as well, like it happening. So there might be. So is it September 15th? They're voting on it.
I have no idea.
I still think it passes, dude. Yeah, I'm sure it's in the news docs. I won't say anything else. We can go to the next one.
The next piece is Angry Crypto Show becoming a Cardano D-Rep. So the Angry Crypto Show is now a Cardano D-Rep. The focus is to advance real-world adoption, improve UX, and drive sustainable growth for ADA. He's given his D-Rep ID. He says, thank you for your support. Let's take Cardano to the next level. He
seems like a nice dude. And he's been one of the few people who have remained consistent in the content creation community for Cardano. Like a lot of people have quit. That used to be what do they call them in crypto Twitter? They call them like KOLs or whatever, key opinion leaders or something like that.
Yeah.
Something super corny like that. He's one of the few that has not wavered on that in terms of continuing to support amidst the hate, because he's seen a longer term vision. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's exciting to follow that. I'm looking for the definition of a D-Rep.
Yeah.
It's like it's a delegation representative, I believe is what D-Rep stands for.
Cool.
So basically, because of their governance, so I was right, delegated representative. So because you have voting power in the governance structure, is how I understand it, you can assign your voting, because a lot of people aren't active. If they're holding ADA, they don't want to have to read up on every decision that's being made, so they assign it to someone that they trust, kind of deal, is my understanding. And so now if you really align with his show, you love his stuff, and you directionally align with him more often than not, you may decide to delegate your ADA to his pool.
Got it.
Please correct me for everything that I got wrong.
Totally. So super cool. Congratulations to the Angry Crypto Show for doing that. That's an awesome move to see. The next piece, Grayscale confirming first Zcash ETF. So Grayscale converts Zcash Trust to a first spot Zcash ETF via SEC filing. By the way, Zcash, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if anyone has been talking about this really, but it kind of just went on a little bit of a run, folks.
Yeah, 57% in the last 7 days. Damn.
Yeah. We saw it spike in the previous bull run in November 2025, had a crazy run, and now it's actually just made a new all-time high, folks. This is worth paying attention to, because that's kind of weird. It already had detached itself from the rest of the market, right? Crypto was in the absolute gutter when it made that first move in November 2025, right? That was right after October. And then all of a sudden, right now, it's just making a new high. Okay. That's fascinating to see that kind of decoupling in the crypto space. You really don't see that very often. So it's meaningful signal.
And what do you take from that?
I take from it, one, that this is possible, right? Mm-hmm. So it could mean that others will follow suit. But also just that Zcash doing this twice in the past couple of years, it's like, it's possible in terms of, it's possible, period, that crypto can decouple. That's the most important takeaway in my eyes, because I think that's real, versus this being potentially something that's leading the rest of the market. I don't know if that's exactly what's happening, but that's the other thing to maybe consider as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always funny when you see something like this, these runs start to happen, and then FOMO starts to set in, and people start like trying to chase those pumps, and then end up losing a lot of their stuff. So I'd say if you've been positioned for a long period of time, don't let like random quick changes like this completely change your investment thesis if you have one. In previous cycles, that's definitely something that I fell victim to, where I'm like, oh, like my thing's not moving, so you feel like you have to push some buttons.
Totally.
That's awesome. Biwu says, because he watches your friend Sami as well, or they do. Zcash is running. Israel super cycle confirmed. So basically, Sami has this thesis, and you can go find it on his Twitter. I recommend going to read the article that he wrote. But it's basically just the sheer mind share attached to Israel right now and how it will play into how these markets move.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh no.
You're good. You can always just jump back in.
All right. Let me do that real quick. Yeah. Next, we're moving into the memes. So let's react to some stuff. Right.
Sweet. I think your mic may have switched. He's gone. I only invest into what I understand. Typically a pretty good lens to look at things through. But you can also understand more if you ever feel desired to. But yeah, I think not doing it until you do is a good call.
Did we play the memes?
We have not.
Let's go. Were you talking about something else?
I was finish off with Biwu here. He's actually so smart and hilarious. I love him. Yeah, I've been saying that for a very long time in terms of when crypto comes back, Sami will become like huge. Absolutely huge.
Love it. Yes, sir. This first thing that we have to react to is Mr. Zhang. Professor Zhang Suijin is a writer and educator known for his commentary on history, geopolitics, and civilizational change. He's got a theory of who controls global power. Let's hear him talk about it here on.
He's been going on every podcast as of late.
But you were telling me last night that this basically all ties back. Everything that's happening on the entire landscape of American foreign policy all ties back to this Chabad Lubavitch stuff.
That's right. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. And
it almost seems too simple of an explanation.
That's right. That's right. But what I want to do is maybe just show you some videos.
Okay.
Some YouTube videos. And then we're just going to focus on facts. Okay. What is verifiable? No, so Rebbe is the rabbi of rabbis.
Oh, really?
Yes.
He's like the final boss.
Yeah,
rabbi.
the Godfather.
Okay.
The Pope. Okay.
Wow.
And all rabbis are under him. Okay. So
how many of these types of rabbis are there, by the way? Do they get into new ones? Like the Pope, there's a new Pope. Is there a new rabbi?
So the Jewish faith is different from the Catholic faith. The Catholic faith is very centralized, right? There's one guy, the Pope, at the top.
Yeah.
But the Jewish faith is very decentralized. And so there are different dynasties, and these are family dynasties. And so Rebbe Sneerson was head of something called the Chabad Lubavitch movement. Okay. And this is Henry Jackson. And
pull up his wiki, bro.
The Chabad Lubavitch, it's a family dynasty. And
how long is this clip?
In the mid 19th century.
It's
super long, eh? Go ahead. Yeah,
if you wanted to jump in and just pause and go, is that what you want to do? Or
yeah, we can. I'm saying this conversation was like 4 hours long, so I definitely recommend going to watch it if interested. We had somebody say, "Is Danny Jones CIA?" The thing is now, like, everyone thinks everyone's a Fed, right? At this point, and they opened up the conversation with Zhang saying that he said CCP or something along those lines. But it is a very interesting case that, like, so his like statement for why he's able to do all these things while living in China is because he sits in basically like multiple gray areas kind of thing, where he's actually a Canadian operating within China. So it's like not as big of a deal for him to access things that are normally locked down. And then posting on it's not that big of a deal because it's going to a Western audience, not a Chinese audience. So apparently that's why he is not caught in the middle of these things. I would absolutely love to have him on the show. I think that could be an absolutely fire episode. I've been trying to get a hold of him for a long time, but to no avail. But yeah, he goes and breaks down his view of the world. We can watch a few more of the clips, but there's so much substance here where it's kind of hard to like cherry pick moments.
That's fair. I'll play a little bit more.
In Russia, and for about most of its history, it was persecuted by the Russians, first by the Russian Tsar, but then later by the Soviet Union. And then the turning point was they were imported to the United States. They moved from the Soviet Union to the United States at the outbreak of World War II to escape Nazi and Soviet persecution. And that was the turning point because they landed in Brooklyn, and then they started to invest in Brooklyn real estate. And today they basically control most of Brooklyn real estate.
Can you pull up a photo of this Schneerson fella?
Yeah, Rebbe Schneerson.
Right there.
There it is. He's called the Rebbe, okay?
Get some images. Hit images. The Rebbe.
Yes. Okay, and the Rebbe just means the rabbi of rabbis.
Whoa.
Rebbe.
What is that thing he's wearing on his head on the very left?
The cube of Saturn.
Whoa. The bigger thing, like the major takeaway from this, to save people some time, is basically Jang believes that a lot of what we're seeing is like multiple religious, I think he used the word extremist movements, kind of like coming to a head of like prophecies that they have that are trying to play out in real time. And that's why so much stuff is going on that makes no sense, is because he believes that people are looking at it through the wrong lens, right? Like, so it makes no sense if you're looking at it through a geopolitical lens, but if you're not looking at it through that lens, then in his opinion, it makes things more clear. So he went on that, and he also went on Alex Jones' show as well. And then he went on funny guy. Diavon, yes. And then I'm curious to see if he'll go on Rogan, right? Because he's in Austin, Texas, doing the podcasting circuit, because that's where it's become now. So, yeah, it's gonna be super interesting to see if he goes on that show and like what that says, if he does or doesn't. So, very interesting, because his relevance is so crazy now. Because especially now, like he's crossing into these pockets that would have never found him before. Like Danny Jones, people, I'm sure they already know who he is, but Theo Von.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
That's extremely interesting.
Yeah, no, there's no excuse for him to not be on Rogan if he's been on Theo Von.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So in my opinion, if he doesn't go, like someone doesn't want him to, but who know? I don't know who that person is. I play these games all the time. I'm like, what's going on here? But I will say something I said a few episodes ago where I'm like, maybe there's some connection between Jiang and Trump. And then did you watch that clip that I sent you at the end of Alex Jones?
I don't think I saw it now.
Okay, so I sent you a text last night. I was like, go to a minute 39, because he literally said, he's like, I think Trump will surprise us.
Yeah, I did see that. I did.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't making that connection to what you had said when you sent it, though, but I see now for sure.
I should give more context. My bad. But yeah, I was like, when he said that, I'm like, whoa. Yeah, so fascinating stuff. We are at an incredibly privileged point in history where you can watch these games be played in real time, right? Because even if these people on these stages are vessels for somebody else, they're still a vessel. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know the significance of who's watching it. And so if you know who they're trying to talk to, you can more or less read between the lines of like what is intended to be interpreted. So it's a very fascinating game. It's like, it's hard not to be watching stuff all the time. But you have to watch something from everyone. Like you can't pick your favorites and be like, I know everything that's going on because I watch this guy all the time. You got to have like, who's the counter of that guy? And then you got to watch them too.
Love it, man. Yup. I've got the next piece here from Jordy Visser himself. Talking about Bitcoin being the purest AI trade. Jordy Visser is a veteran macro investor and head of AI. The head of AI macro nexus research at 22V Research. He argues that Bitcoin is becoming more relevant as AI accelerates competition and abundance. Let's hear him talk about it.
Bitcoin is not something. It's not it's random thing. It's attached to crypto. It's where crypto was born. It's the white paper. It's what Mark Andreessen wrote about when he put in why Bitcoin matters. All of that is now here. And if you go back to that Andreessen piece, which I advise everyone who has never read it, just go pull it up on the internet and go read it. I think it was January of 2014, why Bitcoin matters, and go through and understand that everything that he wrote in that paper, Mark Andreessen, where he called it the third most important innovation in computer history, why it matters, and the fact that it would take the next 20 years. He didn't say 10, he didn't say 15, he said 20 by 2034. That aligns with AGI, that aligns with AI agents, that aligns with everything that the hedge fund community will now be buying. In my side, I believe and will continue to say, it is the purest AI trade, with AI bringing us to abundance where it destroys every single public company growth. The ability to grow, we're watching it with Anthropic, and I think it's just very insightful that the fastest growing tech company in history that is growing insanely, people start getting worried about whether their ARR is 65 billion or 75 billion or what the number is. And I'm getting all these text messages. This is the end of AI and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not the end of AI. It's not the end of Anthropic, but their growth rate will slow down significantly because of competition. Open source is competition. OpenAI is competition. Grokbot is competition. Competition comes out of nowhere. So Bitcoin needs to be in people's portfolio because it is a hedge against abundance. It cannot be destroyed because it is built on beliefs that it will have a store of value, just like gold, except for one thing: it's digital. And so I think everyone needs to adjust their views. And my job has always been, I'm going to keep quiet on Bitcoin until the tape tells me that it's time to be loud again. It's time to be loud again.
Wow. Keith, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Time to be loud again, huh?
I think so.
Fascinating, man. Yeah. I mean, if it's time to be loud again, what a short period of time. But I guess also a year flies by when you're having fun.
That's part of it. I also think that the world is just so crazy where so many forces are moving at the same time, and this was inevitably going to play a role in it. Like, I think the evolution of AI only expedites the necessity of blockchain adoption, right? And then, like, also, how many more people are getting a little bit more scared of losing their job by the day, where they'll start listening to crap like this as well?
Yeah.
Because, like Melody said in our last episode, like, even people who are well off are very leveraged in terms of the things they own. They have a lot of debt. And so, like what I had said, how there's so much bureaucracy and like bloat of middle management and a lot of incompetence, like they can't afford to leave. You know what I'm saying? Because they've had lifestyle creep keep going where they always have to get a new truck. They always had to get the new boat, right? So they can't leave their job and they can't take less money. So when those people start to be like, holy shit, this thing can undeniably do my job, or let's say a kid who's willing to get paid like half of what I'm getting paid can do more than me, then they start looking at things, right? So I think there's gonna be a lot of fans of Bitcoin too, like as people get more and more educated around the supporting things.
Yeah. It's such an interesting thing to me too, because how does that change the dynamic of how the market moves, right? Now we've got ETFs in place, so anyone can participate.
Mm-hmm.
My question becomes, if everyone wakes up to this at the same time, then does anyone actually get to meaningfully participate?
I guess it depends how far it goes. Because also, even people waking up to it, there's always like a balance of like the early movers. Like, realistically, Keith, how many people do you know that when they hear something, even if they fully believe it, act on it right away?
That's
So
true.
few. That's been my biggest cheat code my entire life, is if I feel something is right, I do it right away. You know what I'm saying? And you do that as well. And so most people need to hear it like 4,000 times and then be told by their brother's cousin's sister that like it's a good idea before they do it, right? So even I think there will be so many people that understand this future is coming before they're even remotely participating. Actually, I'd say that probably most of our audience falls into that category. A lot of them.
It makes me think about like the 4-year cycles, or just not even the 4-year cycle, just a cycles period. It feels like in a way like it almost has to happen.
What do you mean?
It almost has to happen the same way every time, where like do we actually get net more people in the door, or have we already reached the net max people who are retailers that are going to participate
Nah, not even close.
over the long run? Because here's what I'm saying. Like, people are going to come in because the price is up, and then they're going to get washed out. And so eventually you start to actually decrease the amount of people that are actually in the game.
I don't think the washout will happen. Like, it will, but I'm saying most of the washout will be like, in my opinion, like those were vaporware. They were always going away. Like, now this is an established market where if you had have been like, I bet you there's some people who look back on the tech collapse and were like, it was glaringly obvious who the winners would be, right? Like, who was building the next wave of stuff. And that's how I think a lot of the projects that, for people who know this stuff well, I think they'll play a major role. And I also think as people get more and more educated, I think the lens of how people look at these will change so dramatically, because I think people are missing the point on what these things are and the paradigm shift that takes place, right? Like, everyone's trying to appraise the value of a blockchain network like a business.
Mm-hmm.
That's retarded. That makes no sense, right? Like, that doesn't, like, that clearly illustrates a fundamental lack of understanding for what it is you're even participating in. It's more appropriate to like the internet, right? And can you capture some of that value that takes place from the internet being used? You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a different thing. So yeah, it's fascinating. You bring up some really good points, and I don't know how it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, like, I don't necessarily think that you would net lose people per se. And another thing that would change the dynamic is if the price of Bitcoin or whatever in particular, like, doesn't go as high up, because then people also just would continue to watch it happen and not think anything of it. It would just be like, oh yeah, like Bitcoin low key just hit 250,000, but like whatever, it's going to come back to 100K anyways. Like, you guys are playing in the casino, like, I don't care. And then another 10 years passes by and it's 500,000. It's like, yeah, whatever. Like, you're still like playing around with this thing. And I don't really care. But like, these people are getting crazy wealthy over that period of time. And then no one ever pays attention because it's slower than it was in the past. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, yeah, it's going to be super fascinating to see, because I think that even if Jeff Booth's thesis comes true in terms of like that Bitcoin maxi world where like Bitcoin is the pure value layer, it's seeming to me like Bitcoin can't move fast enough to do everything else. So like, everything else will probably have to be built around Bitcoin, maybe either short term or long term. And so I think there'll be a lot of projects that are going to be relevant in any scenario that will be seen as like the Amazons of a long time ago. Because I haven't done enough research in this, so excuse my ignorance, but I'm sure if you were to go look back at like who people would have been comparing like an Amazon to, like, the appraisal mechanisms were just so off and wrong, right? For most people, because they didn't understand what was going, because being forward thinking is really hard. And that's one thing that, like, I guess it helps when you're shaping the world, but Silicon Valley has always been very forward looking, or at least had been to this point. So yeah, very, very, very fascinating.
Yeah. Some of the guys in one of the larger crypto macro camps, like, they love to talk about like on-chain revenue as like the thing that's supposed to measure, the value of a crypto project. And I'm just like, dude, like, what? Like, no, I don't think that that's what we're trying to do here per se.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables that go into that, like, because I understand the thought process that would bring you there in terms of the ability to adapt and grow and add things on. And but like, a lot of these projects have accounted for that in alternative means, right? So it's like, those would be nice to have, or they need to have. No, and could you still win without even that taking place at the current point? I think 100%. So yeah, it's funny.
And then a really funny comment here from Noxo. I've had better luck telling people about Jesus than crypto.
It is fascinating how strong people have opinions on something they don't understand at all. Right? Like, even when you try to explain the concept of money to people,
That's so true.
the programming has been so effective where their eyes, it's actually like they've been hypnotized. The second you start talking about money, even though we all have to use it every single day, it's literally they go into a trance and they're just like, and they stop listening. It's crazy. I've seen it with all my friends, all my family. And then what they do, they're like, why are you being so serious, Ben? And I'm like, because you're broke, and you're broke because you don't understand.
Because your life is way harder than it has to be.
That's been my whole point. I'm like, you're trying to give me work. I'm like, I'm trying to give you a little bit of work now so that you don't have to work forever.
Totally. Yeah, that's an interesting thought, man. But 100%.
Brian says, what are you saying, Ben? That XRP solves all those scenarios where BTC doesn't make sense? I think XRP is going to play a massive role in either like the short or long-term story. And yeah, so I don't know where people think about like XRP or Ripple. You only have so much time in a day, and I lean on the people we have on the show. And also, I was saying to Keith not long ago, I'm like, we got to have more XRP people on the show. I was saying that.
Totally. Yes, sir. Noxa said, when I tell people about crypto, they act like I have a horn growing out of my cheek.
Yeah, because I get where people go to, right? Because like if you're wrong about decentralization, then you just walked into a permanent bad situation for the most part. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I get where that fear comes from. Like there's a lot of education that has to be done. So I am sympathetic to the situation of how far removed people are and how much time it can take, which is why we do the show that like the way that we do. But Ben just pulled Andrew Tate on us. Okay, brokey. Now I'm a brokey too. I'm just saying, like, here's how you get out of being said brokey.
No, totally. That's the thing. It's just like, how much harder are you going to make it? And by ignoring the fundamental fabric of our existence, unfortunately, right? Like,
yes,
of our physical existence on the planet, it's like, bro, like you're making things way harder.
Totally. Yeah, and yeah, no, 100%. And in the timing of which, like when you were born in these economic cycles or things that happen, like that plays such a role in terms of what your position is. So like, most of the times when I'm talking to people, I'm like, they're already like semi okay. And I'm like, oh, if you guys just even did very low risk, but because they think if you touch crypto, you're lighting money on fire. Like purely, right?
And that's so interesting because that's not like the logical exercise that they're going through. They're not thinking about the ROI. They're just thinking about this equals bad.
Yes. They're more concerned with like the social dynamic of being someone who holds that asset because they're being told that they're a criminal basically for doing that, which is so stupid. But it's like that whole Ben, the guy who used to be in the OC, I think his name's Ben, the guy who's all coming out against the Clarity Act and crypto. He's made that his whole brand thing. What a joke. I would love to have that guy on the show. That'd be freaking awesome. It'd be fun because like I'm sure he'd be cool. But yeah. What do you have next?
Fun conversation there, because we are about to go through yet another cycle here at some point, and it's going to be the same stuff over and over again. But it's going to be harder to justify why you don't pay attention, for sure, this time.
Yeah, there's overwhelming evidence to the contrary, right?
Yeah. So an AI expert is reporting a scandal. So an expert witness for 3 million used ChatGPT. Oh, for 3M. Gotcha. It's a company.
Yeah.
So an expert witness for this company used ChatGPT to write most of his report in a $61 million lawsuit. This case stemmed from 2020 Houston explosion that killed 3 and destroyed 200 homes. Never mind. He prompted the AI to conclude 3M was 0% at fault. The report was 85 to 95% generated by ChatGPT. Prompts have become public in court. The jury still held 3M 30% responsible. So here's some of the story here, I guess.
There's a guy sitting in Houston traffic with his phone out, and he's typing a sentence into ChatGPT that 3 people died for. Show how 3M is 0% at fault for the explosion at Watson Grinding. So yeah, there was this gas explosion. It killed 3 people and destroyed hundreds of homes. And there was a huge lawsuit. And suspected is the gas detectors that 3M was supposed to be maintaining. So 3M hires this expert from an engineering firm called Nighthawk Engineering, who they're paying $90,000, and they want him to produce a report to find out who's really liable. Now, obviously, 3M hiring this firm means they want a report that says they're not liable.
What's up?
So yeah, no, it's 8 minutes. So I just wanted to kind of give people a little bit of context on what was going on there. But
yeah, so basically what happened is the guy, you gonna explain it or do you want me to?
No, go ahead.
So the person who was brought in as this investigator, he he asked the LLM, like, how do I make this look like they're 0% liable, more or less? And then wrote out the whole report. And then he's like, oh, like, where is this obvious that I asked you this kind of thing? I'm paraphrasing. Go watch the full video. I think we have it linked down below. And then in court, the people were like, can we, did you use, someone caught him basically for using AI in some part of this. So then they asked him on the record, did you use AI? And he's like, yes. And so then they got all of his prompts brought into the case, apparently, which was very damning from an evidence perspective. And he even had like pictures of the, like he had uploaded pictures of ChatGPT allegedly of the actual device as well, like the thing that he was looking at. So pretty insane. Like
The device.
the things that they're saying in question that they weren't maintaining.
Okay.
So he relied heavily on this tool to facilitate the job that he's supposed to be the expert for. So obviously people who are anti-AI had a field day with that one.
That's fascinating. Oof, we're in a weird time, y'all. Just to think also that your prompts are being pulled up in court.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, like that's something, and that's something you got to think about, right? Because nothing we're doing is like private, and people are sharing some crazy shit with these LLMs.
And even just in general, I saw something about this recently. It was like subpoena. Like if you get subpoenaed, people can come into all your records. So even if it's not like something that's damning, it's like,
it's not ideal.
Yeah, like your personal details in general, guys, like could be out there. So be careful.
What we got next?
Next piece, Meta, also in court. They're facing a federal court trial. 29 states' attorneys general are suing Meta, accusing the company of knowingly designing products that addict children and harm their mental health. The states are seeking billions in civil penalties and mandatory changes to platform features like infinite scrolling and autoplay videos. The case is considering a potential turning point that could reshape how social media platforms operate and increase industry-wide legal liability. Oh my. Let's play just a little bit of this clip here from the news.
Meta is...
I'm not even going to do that, actually, because I don't like the music, and I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, the music will definitely get you there. But yeah, how much was the amount they may be liable for? Did it say that?
It didn't say here, but it's in the billions.
Yeah, which is, it's such a difficult thing because social media in its current form is objectively bad for the youth, but by making us all have to age restrict with ID and stuff, that's a slippery slope too. So I just hope more people who actually know what they're talking about are able to be there for the conversation.
Charles Hoskinson.
Yeah.
It's time to get these thumbnails and titles together.
Bro, we could blow this channel so fast, man. There's like a video almost every day where I'm like, Charles could make a dope video on this and it could pop like this. Yeah. I'm hopeful that eventually, as our show goes, day 2 will be like, oh, we should do this. But yeah, because the problem is that so many politicians, they'll do that, right? Where they'll say, okay, I know people can rally behind this, so I'm not going to try to bore them with explaining the semantics or like the deeper nuance. I'm just going to say, we're doing this, right? If you just say restrictions for social media, even the users of social media are like, yeah, screw those guys, right? And they don't really need to explain like or think about what are the second and third order consequences of these decisions.
100%, man.
So yeah, it's gonna be an increasingly big part of the story. So yeah, if there aren't decentralized options pretty damn soon, it's kind of concerning for what the internet will look like.
It's time to pay attention, folks. The next piece. David Sachs warning of an open source AI ban. So David Sachs is a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, venture capitalist, former PayPal COO, and the founder of Yammer. And he's also the co-host of the All In podcast, if you didn't know. He outlines a step-by-step regulatory capture to restrict open source AI. Let's hear a little bit of him talking about this on the pod over there.
I got bad news for you, Chamath. An open source ban is coming. They're not going to call it that. They're going to say that we simply have to apply the same standards to open models that we apply to closed. Here's how they do it step by step. Let me explain how regulatory capture actually works. So first of all, you got to get this regulatory apparatus. Dario wants an FDA for AI, but he doesn't have enough political support for that. So instead, they do this Trojan horse of a FINRA for AI. They call it self-regulating. It's not really. But anyway, that gets them off the ground. Now they've created the standard setting organization. Now they've got pre-release model testing. Then the pressure grows to codify that in law. So that happens next. And then what they do is they say, look, all these standards need to apply equally to all models. But here's the problem with that. Open models and closed models are technologically different. Once you release an open model into the world, you can't roll it back and you can't monitor exactly how people are using it because they run it on their own hardware. Dario says this is what makes open models dangerous. So what they're going to do is they're going to have the standard setting body say, well, we have to set the standards for AI safety. By the way, Dario and OpenAI, they're going to fund the whole thing. They're going to contribute all the compute. They're going to be behind it. They're going to be the ones coordinating with the government officials because frankly, people in government have no idea how to monitor and control and set standards for AI safety. Technologically, this is way beyond them. So they're going to go to these companies and say, tell us how to do it. And so what will happen is the standards will get set, and then it'll be a very simple matter of fairness to say that the standards need to apply to open as well as closed models. The open models cannot comply in the same way, and gradually they will be shut out of the market.
Seems like a conflict of interest.
The only thing that I can think about is that Sachs definitely is speaking with a lot of confidence about what's going to happen there.
Mm.
And he was in the White House, so he probably knows. But yeah, man, so very interesting piece there on how this is going to go down. It does make sense that there's danger in having the open source model, but I don't know if this is going to be the best way of trying to go about this situation here either. It's a really tough conversation, I think.
Yeah, I think we should have some people on who know this stuff way better than we do to discuss the different angles, because all these problems are so nuanced and so layered that anybody who tries to talk about them simply always scares me a lot. So yeah, we'll definitely continue to follow along with that, but I'm hopeful that I don't want all the power basically to put in the hands of like these frontier labs, you know what I mean? So we'll see. But I don't even know if they'll have the option to, right? Like if China continues to do what they're doing, like just from like a somewhat free market perspective, like can you stop that?
No idea.
We'll see.
Next piece that I've got here is Sammy A. Sam Altman talks about OpenAI as a platform. He tells an interviewer that OpenAI should act mainly as a platform with one interface and API. OpenAI merged ChatGPT with Codex and shut down Sora plus Atlas to free compute for AGI. Let's hear him talk about some of this.
Codex, built Codex, right? I don't even know the fucking product lines. Like, where's all the revenue coming from? Actually, I think we should be more of a platform company than a product company.
Okay.
Like we will build products, of course. But
Well,
how many products do you have? Let's back up. How many products do you have now? We just merged ChatGPT and Codex together. So
Okay.
we used to have like ChatGPT, Codex, and the API.
Okay.
And Codex sort of unfortunately named, but that was not just coding. It could kind of do any kind of work, which confused people.
I'm confused by that.
Yes,
Okay.
as were many other people. What I think most people want is the sort of like single interface to their own personal or their company's AGI that can kind of help them with whatever they need. And then the ability with an API to build anything they want on top of it. And that is the platform that we should offer to the world. We're going to sell great AI. At every point on the cost performance curve, we will be the best. You want really high-end AI to discover science, that's great. You want really like inexpensive AI to do like, a massive amount of volume of work that maybe doesn't require genius level intelligence. We got you covered there too. And, thinking about this as a sort of, people talk about different ways, a new utility, a new commodity, whatever you want to call it. Like people want to use a lot of AI and they want it at a low cost and they want it to be fast and to work well and have their context and be smooth. We got you. And then there's like a single product, which is, I need to ask the AI something. eventually maybe it's the AI should proactively offer me things, but you will have this interface which started as a chatbot and now, and I think at some point will feel like a more persistent agent to this AI that is running on whatever you need it to run on. But that's it. I don't think we should go build every product category. I don't think we should like go try to compete with all of our customers. I don't think we should try to like subsume the entire economy. I think we should offer this platform and try to have 100 million new businesses and 8 billion people use it in all kinds of new ways.
How is that different though? If they're all reliant on your service?
Trevor, your leg. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just thinking about that. Yeah, that's an interesting thing, man.
Like, do you need to compete when you have like a reliance and a monopoly on the very thing that runs the business? Is that different?
Mm-mm. No, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's definitely not an ideal situation that he's outlining here. Yeah.
If they don't
But
solve their trust thing, then I can't see that many people wanting to. But I guess 'cause people do like having someone to sue if someone goes wrong or something goes wrong, right? So these big companies they literally would opt for a centralized option because if something goes wrong, I have someone I can sue.
yeah, that's true.
So things are starting to ramp up here because like it's becoming undeniable that the tools are pretty damn impressive for a lot of the things that we call work. So it's and then that combining with all these other economic forces that are taking place, like, do we have Bessent's talk in here?
Treasury Scott Bessent.
Yeah, where he's talking about the potential economic sanctions of anyone who's helping launder money for Iran.
It's not in here, but I can try to find it real quick.
That was all over the timeline.
Blow up financial system, like where he said, "Do it. Would I want to blow up the financial system thing, or was it a different one?"
Well, he had a few things, but one of the biggest ones that he announced was that they would be coming down, and anybody who does help them, he'd kick them off of the U.S. dollar system.
Gotcha. Yes. Yeah, he does make this statement, but
yeah, economic D-Day. Noxo had it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm only seeing the response to him after saying that, but let me try to.
Yeah, we definitely should have that in there, but we can talk about it another episode when you have more time to look at it, because it's definitely a big deal. And Tether was part of the story too.
Heard. This next piece for right now is Sam Altman on slower AI impact. So in the same interview, he admits that he's been overestimating post GPT-4 economic disruption. Back in 2023, he did. And he also cites high inertia and how many people and firms stick to their existing tools. Let's hear him talk about it.
And I thought when we got to GPT-4, which was back in 2023, I think, that very quickly after that, there was going to be much more disruption in software business being up for grabs right away than turned out to be. And the thing that I think I was wrong about a few things, but one of them, in terms of the speed, one of them is the economy just has so much inertia. People keep doing the same things they're doing. They keep buying from the same company. They keep sort of wanting to use their tools in the same way. I think that's actually a positive in many ways, and it's going to make this big transition in front of us go smoother and slower. And I'm grateful for it. But I think it means we've all been too ambitious on timelines, even with this incredible technology. I think AI is one of the most incredible technologies humanity has ever invented. Society and the economy will adapt more slowly. And I thought
anyone outside of Silicon Valley, that was glaringly obvious too, but they're just so close to it where they just thought that, I guess, the sheer genius of the tool would overcome all of those very real physical obstacles.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's all coming to roost here. It's interesting that he's starting to admit these things, but I guess at some point he's gonna have to.
Yeah, well, they got the funding, they got the money, right? Now they need the less hate, you know.
Right. The next piece that I have, Zach XBT exposing crypto robbery laundering. So a French home invasion ended up where some guy stole 7.2 Bitcoin and $110,000 in crypto. The suspect allegedly laundered the funds, and on-chain trails linked the thefts to his wallets via bridges and exchanges. Investigator Zach XBT and his work triggered a $93,000 USDT freeze, and this is showing how crypto tracking aids violent crypto crime probes. Any initial thoughts on that one?
No, I think that because a crime is a big deal across the board, right? And so if criminals think there's less of a chance to get caught going after something like this, then they will prioritize it, right? So yeah, I think we talk about keeping yourself safe, keeping your crypto safe, all of that.
Yep. This is one of the things that happen when you're in the space. If you're not super good at this, I guess, if that's the way to put it, you will get tracked down. And I don't understand how this also, like, why do we have this guy's username or his alias? Not trying to tell you how to do crime, but you might not want to post about it. I don't know what's going on exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. More of the GTA 6 leaks.
Yep. So that's what's next here. There's like a whole phenomenon going on here with GTA 6, and you might know more than me. But
yeah, there's a shitload going back and forth. So basically this, and correct everything that I get wrong in the comments, please, but CyberLeak is the name of this hacker, and there's been more and more coming out where he's basically proving that he has more or less full builds of the game or close to it, and that he could essentially put that onto the internet, which would obviously be a massive blow for the most hyped game and most expensive game of all time. And there's a lot of people who are like saying what it's from, but there's so much misdirection and there's so much sheer volume of noise. It's difficult to separate fact from fiction. But there's been communications back and forth between like the leaker and a bunch of different places. And then also he's got a crypto coin that he's using to get support for his continued hacking efforts. And they have like a ultimatum essentially for Take-Two or Rockstar, which is basically to sell the physical media, a few other demands. And one thing I'm like, it's probably all real, but if they just go back and give the physical discs, and let's say they were always going to all along, then they become like this is this crazy amount of marketing and nothing changed. So I don't know. It's pretty insane. Like, because with just how big of a deal this is, I'm hard pressed to think that this wouldn't be locked down instantly. Do you know what I mean? With how much how little privacy we have. But obviously, I've never tried to hack someone, so I'm sure there are people who are way more people than the people who know way more than me in terms of how we would stay safe. But I don't know. It's a team, okay? So the Rebel says CyberLeak is a team. Its website was described as elegant, scary-ish for the corpos. Yeah, we'll see. It's been fascinating to follow. I use Mudahar as my primary resource for this stuff because he knows enough about the technical side and he cares about the games. So he's been a fascinating thing. But anything else you want to add there?
No. Fascinating stuff all around.
It's crazy. It's truly insane. And yeah, it's just like, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are paying attention or talking about the game that wouldn't have talked about it before. So I know their stock did take a massive hit, but at the end of the day, it'll come right back when it's launched, if successfully.
Definitely.
It could even be a way to buy back at a cheaper price.
Always thinking incentives, man.
I'm definitely too schizo, but like it's just the sheer size of the game, man. Like, I don't know. But what do you got next?
This next piece, I've got Nikita Beer denying shadow banning of crypto Twitter. So Nikita Beer is the ex-head of product at X. He's replying to claims that he was shadow banning people on crypto. So in crypto on Twitter. So Patch said, bull market is allowed to commence because Nikita is no longer shadow banning crypto Twitter. Nikita Beer said, what are you talking about? I literally built cash tags, allowing people to add Solana and Ethereum charts directly into posts with trade buttons coming soon.
That's crazy advertising, dude.
And then he said, you can even paste contract addresses for newly minted tokens. There wasn't a single feature on X for crypto traders until I joined. The bull market is starting because the Treasury announced it's buying back bonds and debasing the dollar.
Wild. We've also said that from the beginning that Twitter will have to play a role in any sort of bull market, and then how big it goes will depend on those features and the success of them. But when you can start buying because that makes it go crazy, Keith. If you can hold, and that actually could make more sense for like the privacy things that they've been adding in there too. But if let's say your account becomes a wallet and you can buy a amount of the coin via Apple Pay, and then
True.
these things are going crazy. And then how many posts get made when Jimmy put $100 with Apple Pay and made 1,000 in a day?
It's gonna be crazy.
It'll be
that
so
part
mental.
would be crazy.
There was another tweet from Nikita. Was that in here as well? Or Raul Paul's reply to Nikita? It's in here?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thank you, Asipa. Because this is fascinating too, because there's more.
So Rob Powell replies on USD strength. I didn't see this part, so let's see. So, okay. So it's a response to the long-term treasury yield is the most important price in the world. It is also the only fiscal disciplinarian the U.S. has left. Neither party will run on entitlement reform. Both have spent the past decade expanding commitments while ignoring arithmetic, says Jeff Richards. So a little bit of extra context. The U.S. Treasury announced that they're going to be doubling their buybacks of U.S. Treasuries. This is happening because Treasury yields are continuing to go higher. And so when a government decides to buy back its bonds, it's in an attempt to suppress the long-term rates. Now, what's worth understanding here in this case is that this is the Treasury buying back their own bonds versus the Fed printing cash to buy the bonds. Okay, so anyway, just wanted to point that out.
Great
and
context.
Nikita Beer just said right in that other post, he was like, the real reason crypto is up is because the Treasury is buying back bonds. And by the way, right, lower bond yields is also something that is bullish for risk assets, right? Because if I can get a higher yield by just holding U.S. Treasuries, which is supposed to be the safest instrument in the world, then I have less of an incentive to go out and seek the risk that comes with buying stocks that can go to zero.
Great stuff.
So Nikita Beer said, we are absolutely cooked. We are in the final innings of the dollar being the reserve currency. Well, I guess you did send me that. And then Rob Powell said, no, the rest of the world is more in debt in dollars than the US. This is why it keeps going up in nominal terms while being debased 8% per year.
See, that's the other crazy part about this is that people don't realize that every country is in the American Ponzi.
Mm-hmm.
So like America's tank is like all the other countries' tank too, man. People don't grasp that because when you're holding when you're tied up to the stock market and all, they're so interconnected into these systems. Like the people who run the American financial system, they knew what they were doing, getting everyone involved because you don't want to take yourself down, right? So it's a really, really crazy thing. And there's this other guy who you can go on Twitter and it's called like the dollar milkshake theory or whatever. And he basically further elaborates on this concept. So if you're interested in this, I recommend going to Twitter and doing the dollar milkshake, typing that in. It's a few minutes. We don't have to put it here, but
Brett Johnson with the dollar milkshake theory.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff is fascinating. But yeah, like for instance, the stuff that's happening in Japan, it's a big conversation right now. And it's like, well, Japan is one of the largest holders of US Treasuries and their currency is weakening, right? So they're trying to prevent their currency from weakening because they import like a crazy amount of all their goods and services.
Totally.
So when their currency gets weak, everything gets extremely expensive. So they're trying to defend their currency. And the easiest way for them to be able to defend their currency would be to sell all of the US bonds that they have, or some of them even, which would spike US yields higher, make it harder for them to borrow and cause a massive issue. And so basically no one wants to sell their U.S. Treasuries because it's just going to cause a bigger issue for them. If they try to sell them, then the value of them could go down as people try to front run them trying to sell them. And they tank their own holdings.
Crazy game.
So it's all massive, fascinating. Ponzi is a great way. Like it's all crazy, bro, because it's all not really actually real, but it does really affect people.
Yes, that's a very good point. Is that like the power mechanisms are real because of the impact of them, right? Like the actual thing that we're talking about. Talk about alchemy. Do you know what I mean? Like speaking something into existence of like, I control this because you're all massive game. Like game theory here is truly so fascinating to think about how long these games have been played. And when you understand the interconnectivity of all these financial systems for this purpose, you can follow and go down a lot of threads and also provides a lot more clarity for why things were done potentially versus why they said they were being done. Because the stranglehold that the dollar has and that chip on a global stage is so crazy. Like people do not grasp how insane that is as a power. And now as you roll out stable coins and digital dollars, and now you can get even like the individual on other countries if the laws aren't put in place to be deeply involved in this Ponzi scheme, because the average individual at other countries, like it's not super easy for them to go get access to the American financial market to be part of the overarching Ponzi. If they can get access to stable coins, like all that shit becomes way easier.
Facts, man. It's crazy.
So shit's gonna be wild.
The next story. Student loan payment shock. Owen at Owen NFA borrowed $32,000 in 2013 student loans. He paid $420 a month for 11 years, totaling over $55,000. His balance still sits at $28,900, nearly the original amount.
Wow.
This post went viral with millions of views over shared debt frustration. So now I understand why people just stopped paying student loans. Logged in this morning to check my balance. Borrowed $32K in 2013. Been paying $420 a month for 11 years.
Another thing too, man, is that not only is like the system that we're operating insolvent, but so many people in it are insolvent as well. Like there's no world where people are gonna be able to pay these things back. Like think about how many people have some bullshit arts degree, like with like 50K plus in debt. There's probably like hundreds of thousands of people in that camp.
Okay, relax on my bullshit arts degree.
I have a bullshit business degree, man. I'm not saying anything different. It's all the same different flavors of bullshit, brother. I'm completely with you. But like I think school can still make a ton of sense for certain programs, but most of the ones that most people go to are absolute horseshit. Like in terms of the actual curriculum, like it's great, you meet people, do all this stuff, but the costs are crazy. Especially you guys in America pay even worse than we do, way worse.
You know, it's insane. So also old fart 999.
What a handle.
If you really don't understand how paying near the minimum caused your situation, your college education was a big waste.
Yeah. And Brian says it was never created with the intention that you could pay it back. That's a big part of it too. It's the only form of debt that you can't file for bankruptcy on, right?
Something like that.
Like it doesn't wipe it out, is my understanding.
But so to old fart's point here too, that is the part of the thing. Like it is a big waste because you don't learn that. No one taught you that piece. No one's teaching you about how debt works.
For all the courses that we all have to take in first year, like how is that stuff not mandatory?
Facts.
It's only not because you don't want it to be. There's no other way.
So true, dude. Just take one class out of a semester at the beginning to teach people about how debt works. Everyone here is on student loans. Like totally. Here's how it works.
We all need to know this shit. And they deliberately make it so that the first year it's flexible and you take a lot of generic courses so that you can pick your major or change it if you went into it with a different one. So how hard would that be to do that, you know?
Totally. Yeah, dude, $420 a month, bro. That's a car, that's insurance on everything. Like, oh, you know, that's wild, bro.
Yeah. But the number is also funny, like 420 blaze it, you know?
Oh, God, sorry. But
Age
dude,
like
think
mortgage.
about that. Like 400, and that's on a $30,000 loan. Wow. Yeah, no, that's wild, bro. I don't know. I just can't even really fathom that. Like, well, that's tough.
Yeah. The whole Great Reset thing, that's also like that's the karmic responsibility or whatever, whereas like they've been saying that everywhere. Like that's been in so many titles and thumbnails, ours included, because people are like aware of the concept to a degree. Like how else are you going to pay off all of this debt that everybody has? Right? Because like we point at the country, and the country is top down, they set the precedent, but I know a lot of people that like there's no world where they're going to pay off their debt. And if I know that many people personally, chances are everyone does, you know?
Yeah, totally. Totally. The next piece here is crypto figure Mert shares that non-crypto service providers always request Tron addresses for payments. This involves flower shops, movers, concierge, and other outside the US and crypto circles. Highlights Tron's unexpected real-world adoption for everyday transactions among regular people. So Tron's moat amongst people not in crypto or in America must be studied. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. No matter who I pay at flower shop, blah, 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 they always send their Tron address. Interesting. Yeah, I'm more like Omega here, who says, I know 0 people that use it.
But people must be using it for it to be that relevant.
Totally. That would make it make sense, because I'm like, there's no world in which I'm using Tron, so it'd have to be something in real life that people are doing.
It's become one of the larger chains that gets used for stable coins and payments, like they had said.
Heard.
So, and funny, their founder is going on that like legal dispute with is it World Liberty? It's one of Trump's companies.
Yeah, World Liberty Financial and Justin Sun.
Yeah, a lot of people have tried to take Justin Sun out, man, and the chart just keeps going up and up and up.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, he's been widely hated for quite some time in the game.
Yeah, at least optically, for sure. Like it seems that way. Yeah.
Enigmatic figure, or controversial figure.
Totally.
Next here we've got what's up? What about it?
What about it?
Okay. So Ben's gonna guess.
Which one's AI?
Okay.
That's great.
I might have already said it, but let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Which one's AI? Play along, folks.
I'm gonna have to pull it up here so hopefully it doesn't give it away here.
I won't.
If you haven't
watching the video
skincare yet, what are you doing? K Beauty is way ahead of the game, and trust me, your skin has not skinned until you've tried it. So here are my 10 favorite products that keep my skin healthy, glowy, and all day, every day. If you haven't.
Okay. Any initial thoughts on that one, Ben?
I haven't seen the other, but that felt like AI for how her mouth moved.
Okay. All right. Let's see this one. Oops. Wait, can you hear? I can't hear.
She's looking pretty AI too, man. No, I think I can't hear her speak, but she looks more real.
Interesting.
But, yeah, I would guess this. But you did send me the other girl before. I didn't read the message, but I had seen that other girl before. But what gave it away for me in the last one, if I'm right, was the mouth.
Interesting. Okay.
Which one was it?
Haven't switched over to Korean skincare yet, what are you doing?
Okay, that's oof. Wow. That's fair. There's some little movements.
Beauty is way ahead of the game, and trust me, your skin has not skinned until you've tried it. So
it's too perfect.
My favorite products.
People's mouths don't move
healthy,
like that.
Glowy, and all day, every day.
Wow. I mean, that's good, Ben. What about in the chat? What do we got in the chat? Which one of those is AI, folks?
People disagree with me. I could be totally wrong, but it's how maybe she's got the perfect. Maybe she went to a speech coach that I should go to.
That's AI. Those birds got something to say. Those birds are real life, by the way, folks. That's over here.
Those aren't AI.
Yeah. One seems real. Two is AI. Two, Bunny is AI.
Are they both AI?
That could be what it is. Asipa might have gotten us here. Okay. Brian Mario said, both AI. This one's particularly good because it makes micro errors like tumbling the bottles. Yes, that was the part that I was like, whoa, Brian.
They've gotten good.
Yes, because that's that one is the one that's AI, the first one. And so but when I saw that, I was like, I had the context for me was this is AI, by the way, guys. Like, look at what it's doing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when I saw it hit the
Switch over to Korean skincare yet? What are you doing? K-beauty is way ahead of the game, and trust me, your skin has not skinned.
that
Wow.
where it just like taps the top of the bottle on accident.
big.
That's crazy, bro.
The other typical giveaway is the perfection of the sound effects. Meaning like they sound so perfect. What?
Eventually, bro, like in the next 6 months, I don't think it's gonna be possible to tell, bro.
No, there's very few things left.
This dude's like, it's the pixel right here where she's moving too rapidly.
But if you go back and
color was
listen to
off.
the audio, like, typically gives it away, right? Like when she hit that, it was like so perfect.
That's fair.
But yeah, I think that we're very close to it being perfect. And at that point, we need the second internet, like Charles has been talking about.
Yeah, man. So that was the end of the reactions piece. We've got some pure memes. But wow, that's something else. Let's hear this because I remember this girl popping off. So Leia Helpern, she said that lower lows are coming, and I guess people are coming back to her saying this from back.
I saw this girl.
As far as June 25th, Bitcoin was at 58,000. Time to start shorting with me. Let's hear it.
Market is going to continue to come down, like I keep on saying. We have another massive leg down coming in the next few months. And of course, I'm going to continue to short it. You missed the last opportunity to short the massive drop with me. Don't miss this opportunity. I'm going to continue to short the market because lower lows are coming. Short with me. If you're holding crypto, stop what you're doing because you're going to want to hear this. Crypto is not going to recover in 2026. Yep, I don't think it's going to recover in 2026. You might be wondering, what does she know? Well, I actually accurately predicted the top of the cycle at the end of 2025. So I do believe a range of anywhere between $40,000 to $55,000 is a fantastic bottom and a great place to start buying Bitcoin. Okay, so it's come to my attention that some of you just don't understand how a bear market works. But am I buying yet? No, because I think that lower lows are coming. Okay, so even if Bitcoin pumps to $70,000, you still know that I'm still the biggest bear right now. Like, I really don't think that we're so back. I think lower lows are still coming. I have said for over a year that lower lows are coming. Okay, so I know everyone is in absolute shock because I haven't started rebuying Bitcoin yet. I will, but I'm waiting.
Man, no one knows what they're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's just guessing.
Yeah, and I think it's weird to like short with me. Like, what? This is not
Probably
TikTok.
Probably got a referral link.
Yeah, guys, like, first off, let's expose some of the game real quick. These crypto influencers get paid crazy bread to promote these ranky dank exchanges, ladies and gentlemen, that are offshore, no regulations, crazy amounts of leverage. And at the end of the day, they do it and people use them and it is what it is. But just know that, like, the ones that are the sketchiest pay the most.
Of course, they have to.
And so just know that. That's all I got to say.
How do you pick who you partner with?
I pick regulated onshore exchanges, or in this case, it's one exchange, right, that I've trusted and can partner with in confidence. And same thing for like the retirement account provider, because it's just like I had people, give me all kinds of links, and they're telling me how much the money they're making doing it too. And I'm like, holy moly, guys. But it just was like, I can't do it.
Yeah, it all comes back to the games that you're playing, right? Like, if you want to play like really long-term games, then stuff you got to consider.
Totally. And the Rebel, yeah, it's a lot like the gambling influencers. Like you're getting a piece of the thing. And that's exactly like, unfortunately, that's pretty much what these types of exchanges are. They're high leverage crypto exchanges. It's like basically you're just in there gambling your money away. And so
we actually had a crypto casino that like fully ripped off our No Dice logo too. That's hilarious as well.
Yes.
I don't think that they'll be around long enough to really be relevant. So like, I'm not concerned with it. And I also have like documented proof that we were first and everything. So, but yeah, it's funny.
Yep. But all right, folks, a couple more memes. So this was Bastien Daus, a French acrobat, developed a machine that mimics the moon's gravity. Fascinating. And then this guy said, Mark Aura said, I effing love humans. Imagine the ish we'd come up with if we didn't have to please shareholders.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? Like how good the world can get if the systems get improved, like time being put to other things. I just think so much energy and time has been put towards extraction. Like it's actually insane to think about. Like largely most of the smartest people on the planet have been like conceiving for like, how do I, within these rules, extract?
Unfortunately, I think you got something right about that. Next piece, Vitalik on his way to figure out why the ETH Foundation hasn't sold a single penny after a 40% drop.
Is it actually him?
I'm pretty sure.
He is awesome. It's like, he's so funny, man.
The Vitalik Buterin. The next piece that I've got here is Agra Tao Nakamoto.
That's awesome. The memes are going to be crazy when crypto starts to really move. And there's also a lot of amazing stories to tell because we love the story of an underdog as people. We love like rising from the ashes, and everybody in crypto sees themselves like that. Right. So there's going to be some wild stories with the tools of AI and everything going on that Twitter is going to be a crazy place.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's going to be legendary.
and yeah, it's going to be a wild time. And I think that these projects that have stuck around this long, that's the game that they've been playing. Like if you run a Web3 project, because it's not been fully adopted by people for what they're hoping it can become, it's sheerly an attention game at this point, right? Like a attention and community game, which the entire internet is becoming. So they've got a bit of a head start. So, and not to mention the moats of the big businesses that exist, they're drying up as well, right? So if you have the attention and people say, oh, we have this problem, we would buy it from you if you could solve it, and you can go spin up a business and you have the eyeballs, then you go beat them.
Real quick, just like that.
Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z has really stepped things up these days. Damn. Did you watch Dragon Ball Z as a kid? I think we talked about this briefly.
Not really, like just little bits and pieces. What about you?
Oh, I was huge into Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon. Former producer of the show, producer Kurt, him and I drove to, I think it was it Milton, and we bought from this dude like every box DVD set of Dragon Ball that ever existed. It was sick. Yeah. So yeah, big Dragon Ball Z, big Pokemon guy.
Heard. It's also fascinating to me that this guy, right, this random guy that happens to have that name ends up being the face, you know? Like that's so wild. But yeah.
Super interesting. Any other memes or is that it?
If your girl, Tristan Thompson here, by the way, I didn't even realize that. If your girl has trust issues, needs everything verified, keeps receipts forever, that's not your girl. That's a blockchain.
It's funny, especially for him, because I think he's had some like public drama with relationships. So it's even funnier coming from him.
I didn't realize that, but yep. Andrew Lokanath said, "What are he posted this picture of James Bond, and this is in response to Trump saying that the U.S. might use military intervention in the bond market." This stuff was hilarious, y'all. Like people were talking about this because he said that like the U.S.'s biggest leverage is the military when being asked about bond yields. And so people just kind of ran with that and made some pretty funny headlines. So anyways.
People are so quick, man.
It's crazy. Andrew said, "What are Treasury yields? Why are Treasury yields still rising? Can the military control the bond market?" Somebody said, trying to figure out what is going on, but it's pretty darn funny. But yeah, that's it for the memes there.
Cool.
Final piece would be to talk about community.
Let's do it.
We see you folks. Last episode we had the Melody Wright on with us.
The controversial Melody Wright.
Controversial. We've got some of her professional haters on our case already, which is awesome. So shout out to Melody. Thank you for coming on the show. We've had a lot of comments over here. And this has been a very high performing episode. So we guess y'all enjoyed it and have been sharing it with friends. We also just put out the highlights version of this so that you can share that with anyone who you think might have missed it, even though it was an incredible conversation. So yeah, let's look at some of the comments real quick. Flat Asherm said, "Can't get my 60-year-old dad to watch this. He thinks anything I show him is a conspiracy." Lynn Whittyfield said, "The middle class, small business sector have been having these conversations for 25 years. It just took other sectors this long to catch up. If you want to know what is really going on in the economy, talk to a small business owner, a farmer, or a truck driver, and we will tell you. We have been the ones attending city council meetings, school board meetings, and writing letters and meeting with local representatives to no avail." Yep. Cool. Anything that you remember from these comments that stood out to you?
No, it's just that people so far have liked her. So yeah, I think she's a polarizing figure, which is so interesting for seeing like such a sweet woman to be like seen as so polarizing.
That's true, man. Yeah, she's super dope, and really enjoyed having that convo. So yeah, check this episode out if you haven't already. And like I said, also don't forget to check out the Memes in Markets highlights channel. We just put out the highlights yesterday and they're already ripping. So check it out, or you can use this as a version to share it with your friends, get people to come over here, give us some love so that you can more easily share what we're doing with your friends.
Totally. Definitely go over there. Easier to share. It's typically around 1 or 2, like more of a narrow line of conversation. So we cut those down to be more what you'll find on other podcasts, and also so it's easier to share. So definitely go and do that. I'm on day 24 of No Dice 45.
No.
I'm going to pull my challenges right here.
You're ahead of me, man.
Yeah. And I got to do a breathwork session. I've got to document my progress, record a quick vid. Got to exercise. I'll probably go for a run today. I've got to give 5 strangers compliments and keep the apps blocked so I don't doom scroll.
Nice. I pulled a little bit earlier today and got some stuff done. So I'm on day 18 of No Dice 45. today, exercise, read, 10 minutes of journaling, no gambling, and text an old friend. Got 3 of those things done. I just got to read and hit some exercise.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So definitely join us if you think you can improve your relationship to your phone, whether it's your relationship to social media or gambling. Go ahead and use No Dice to help improve it. We have the 45-day dopamine detox challenge in there. That is No Dice 45 that we are currently going through that we'd love for you to join us on. Oh, there goes my camera. And can you still hear me though?
I can hear you just fine. But you've been frozen, so I didn't even know your camera was gone.
Oh, I'm frozen?
But no, it's just for me.
Got it. And we saw some people talking about Zach Faust is doing some sort of challenge.
He just FaceTimed me.
Interesting.
So we might literally just now.
Cool.
So yeah, we'll potentially guys be doing some of that stuff juntos together. So watch out.
Yes, absolutely. And then come join us. Use the tool, customize it so that it improves your life the way that you want it to. And share your progress on social media as you're doing No Dice 45, and we will definitely share it as well in terms of engaging with it, sharing it, all that good stuff. And then if you've yet to check out the private community for memes and markets, definitely go and check that out. It is a private Discord where you can come and hang out with other legends from the chat, from the show. We're in there talking about fun stuff, sharing what we're watching before we come and talk about it here. That group is also helping to shape the content by suggesting new topics and things of that nature. And we just added in 2 new channels at the request of How Are You Now? So we've got a sports and entertainment or bread and circus channel, as well as a fitness and nutrition as well. So come in. It's a very positive space. A lot of learning going on. A lot of cool people. Come hang out.
Come and join us. It's a good time to be there. You've got about a week left, I guess, until you might have to deal with higher prices and also not getting access to the early movers badge. Anyone who comes in for the first month, you're getting access to the frozen cat badge to prove that you're an OG in the game.
Totally.
So check out the link in the description. Join us. We can't wait to see you in there. It's a lot of fun. We're also just breaking down stuff, sharing a little bit more of what's really going on. It's how you can keep up with us after hours.
Totally. And also keep in mind, if you guys do have, only if you have interest, but also keep in mind that how different the dynamic of that's going to change if crypto moves in a large way. Right. So, just keep that in mind in your decision-making criteria. If it's not something you can afford, no stress whatsoever. We tried to price it at a point where it's affordable, but people there care. And so that's really the sweet spot we've tried to hit. So if you feel like joining, come hang out with us. If not, all good too. You can always hang out with us in the live streams.
100%. Appreciate you guys to the maximum. Anything else you want to make sure that we touch on, Ben?
Well, we got another stream at 7 p.m.
Yes, that's the thing. I was like, something's missing. Yes. So 7 p.m. Eastern, correct?
Is my understanding.
Yes. We'll be going live again. So 2 days, 2 streams in 1 day, excuse me. So be sure to check us out. We're talking with Nevscape, Ben.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's been in the content space for crypto for a very long time. He used to work with one of the biggest media outlets within crypto called, is it Blockmates? I can't remember exactly. So excuse me if I got it wrong. It's Blockmates, cool. And then now he's kind of ventured off on his own, and he's really developed this really cool angle because he's a phenomenal storyteller. But unfortunately, with social media, until you find a lane where people can categorize the stories that you tell, it's difficult to start going. And so he's basically telling the stories around freedom technology, more or less. So privacy blockchains, privacy tech, all that good stuff. So if you're interested in any of that sort of stuff, like the flock cameras, all the stuff we talked about before, definitely come check it out, and also check out his channel as well.
Fantastic.
And see, Chad approves.
Nev's a legend, he says. So let's go. See y'all in just a bit tonight.
Go take a break. Go get some food in you. Recoup, reload, and we'll see all of y'all in a few hours.
Make it the best day in between, folks.
That's it. Be the light that you want to see, and I'll see you in a few hours. Take it easy.
Peace.